Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from outside the door, and Sandy, who was responsible for gathering intelligence, hurriedly entered. What's the situation? Did you find any news? Who is the perpetrator? We must find them and eliminate them. Did you gather any information about the murderer? Sandy's arrival immediately altered the atmosphere in the conference room. The Black Dragon Society members present, including Zachary and Bernie, couldn't wait to ask questions. Quiet, everyone. When Christina saw the commotion, she slammed the table and scolded them harshly. As the president, Christina's authority in the Black Dragon Society was naturally high. Under her stern command, no one dared to speak, and the room quickly returned to silence. Seeing the president turn to focus on her, Sandy spoke cautiously. President, our intelligence personnel have not found the perpetrator's whereabouts. Hearing this, not only Christina but everyone else present also showed displeasure, and their expressions immediately turned grim. Fortunately, Sandy had more to add, continuing. However, based on the collected information, it's certain that there were 2 perpetrators last night. One is skilled in long-range sniping, and the other is suspected of being able to control sharp silk threads, capable of cutting someone open. Ethan and Lisa's hunting was very clean and efficient, not only avoiding the city's surveillance but also resolving the battles in a very short time. For instance, Lisa conducted long-range sniping directly. And Ethan, even the formidable Woodrow, was killed in just 1 or 2 moves. However, based on the bodies left behind, some information could be inferred from the injuries and time of death, not to mention the presence of bystanders. That's it? After spending the whole night, is this all the information you found? Zachary frowned, still very dissatisfied. This is the city where their Black Dragon Society headquarters is located. It should be the place with the strongest intelligence capabilities. Failing to uncover the identity and origin of the perpetrator, and not even finding their basic whereabouts, was a significant intelligence failure. We only determined the number of people and their potential capabilities, but what's the use? We need to find the perpetrator's whereabouts and eliminate them. Otherwise, once the news spreads, there will be no deterrence at all. Bernie also spoke seriously. The Black Dragon Society is a killer organization. The survival of organizations like this naturally depends on the underground world under the surface. The survival rules of the underground world are brutal, requiring sufficient deterrence to outsiders. Once deterrence is lost, encroachment or even destruction by other forces is inevitable. Christina frowned tightly, staring at Sandy. Is it true you haven't discovered anything about the perpetrator's whereabouts? Sandy hesitated for a moment but continued. There's one situation that we can't confirm yet, the man named Ethan whom Mr. Lance went to recruit yesterday. His martial arts gym suddenly closed yesterday. And last night, he checked into the Sky Arena with 2 women. Really? Lance? Before Christina could react, Zachary, Bernie, and the other Black Dragon Society members' expressions changed. They suddenly realized that Lance was also stationed at the headquarters, but he hadn't shown up since. The members who stayed outside, except for those on missions, were all attacked and killed last night. If Lance hasn't appeared now, wouldn't that mean? A terrible thought appeared in several people's minds, and they all subconsciously looked at Christina nervously. Especially Zachary, whose back was soaked in cold sweat. It was Ethan who he and Lance had been secretly watching the day before. Hearing Sandy mention this person now made him think even more. You said the other party checked into the Sky Arena last night with 2 women. Do you know when they checked in? I'll investigate immediately. Christina's soft words made Sandy's heart skip a beat, her face changing significantly. She hurriedly asked Christina for instructions. After receiving an indifferent nod, she ran out of the conference room even more quickly than she had entered. Others in the conference room were either thoughtful or uneasy, but seeing the president's face seemingly shrouded in shadow, they dared not speak easily. After a moment, Sandy rushed back into the conference room. President, the other party moved into the Sky Arena not long after our people were attacked and killed. The two women with him are also players on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. One of them is named Lisa, and her known ability involves attacking with mind bombs. Sandy's breathing was quick, and she reported rapidly. Chapter 77, Boom. A powerful burst of energy erupted from Christina's body, not only sending the chair beneath her flying but also causing the floor to crack and spread with spiderweb-like fractures. Lead the way and find the others, Christina ordered Sandy with a cold tone. Yes. The predatory gaze, akin to that of a top predator, made Sandy feel terrified. Without hesitation, she immediately began leading the way. Since she had discovered that Ethan was staying in the Sky Arena, she naturally found out which room he was residing in. Zachary, Bernie, and the remaining two members of the Black Dragon Society quickly followed. While riding in the elevator, Zachary hesitantly reminded Christina, President, whether or not the others are the perpetrators, we cannot afford a conflict in the Sky Arena. Yes, the Sky Arena is backed by V5. If a conflict breaks out here, even if we win, it would jeopardize our organization's future development. Bernie added. A behemoth like V5 is a power that the Black Dragon Society simply cannot afford to offend. No response. Christina seemed not to hear, staring straight at the elevator doors with an expressionless face. With such a reaction, Zachary and Bernie exchanged silent glances, feeling a growing nervousness. Ding. The elevator doors opened. With Sandy leading the way, the members of the Black Dragon Society, led by Christina, quickly walked down the corridor and soon arrived at a room door. Is this the place? Yes, this is the room where they are staying. Knock on the door. It turns out that although Christina's expression was cold, she had not truly lost her composure. At her command, Sandy began knocking on the door. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door, and after a moment, it opened. Inside the door, appearing before Christina and the Black Dragon Society members, was Ethan with an indifferent expression. Seeing Christina and the others outside, Ethan showed no surprise or other emotion. Instead, he calmly said, Your Black Dragon Society's response was slower than I expected. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of the Black Dragon Society members, including Christina, changed as they looked at Ethan with either sharp, fearful, or hostile eyes. So, it was you. You and your team attacked and killed our Black Dragon Society members last night, didn't you? Christina's eyes turned fierce, and she spoke with a murderous gaze. Yes, otherwise you wouldn't have come here, right? Ethan replied calmly. What about my brother? Dead, and the body may have been eaten by wild animals. Clenching her fists, her fingertips dug into her palms, and bright red blood dripped onto the ground at her feet. Christina stared at Ethan with terrifying eyes. Behind her, the Black Dragon Society members also had extremely unpleasant expressions, all glaring at Ethan. You're angry, right? I'm angry too. Everything was fine, so why did your brother attack me without hesitation? That's how I am. If someone makes things difficult for me, I won't make it easy for them. Of course, I'm also willing to give others a chance for revenge. How about it? Do you have the guts for a fight to the death with me? In the Sky Arena ring, the winner is king, and the loser is silent. Ethan completely ignored the looks from the others and spoke slowly, locking eyes with Christina across from him with a cold gaze. Shut up, what right do you have to challenge our president to a fight to the death? Sandy shouted angrily. Yes, you're just relying on the Sky Arena now. If you have the guts, leave here. I promise you'll taste the power of our Black Dragon Society. Kid, you should know what kind of organization our Black Dragon Society is. You can hide in the Sky Arena, but what about your relatives and friends? We have enough power to capture or even kill those connected to you. Others chimed in, either angrily shouting or sneering sinisterly. But unfortunately, Ethan's expression remained unchanged, and he simply said, Go ahead, feel free to target the people I know. However, don't overestimate yourselves. I think I'm quite capable. You can try to intercept me after I leave the Sky Arena. If you succeed, fine, you win. But if you can't stop me, then I'm sorry, it's just killing people. I'm quite good at it too. Unless you plan on staying here forever, I'll keep an eye on you from now on, picking you off one by one, and I won't spare anyone connected to you. It's just a threat, but he meant it. Ethan isn't heartless, but ultimately, he is an outsider. In this world, the only people he truly cares about are Lisa and Mia. The rest, like students in martial arts schools, are acquaintances. If they were implicated and killed, Ethan would indeed feel guilty, but he would never be threatened because of them. He would merely find those responsible one by one and exact revenge. Whether Ethan's counter threats are effective, the answer is yes. Last night, the deaths of many members, including a core member, were enough to prove Ethan's strength. Not to mention the two ordinary members and Sandy, even the two core members, Zachary and Bernie, had changes in their eyes, looking at Ethan with fear. Who doesn't have friends or relatives, even killers? Without absolute certainty, there's always a risk of backlash. Moreover, Ethan's calm demeanor gave the Black Dragon Society members a chilling and strong sense of danger. A death match? Fine. I agree, but I'll set the time. If you don't want to die, then you better not leave the Sky Arena before the death match. Christina took a deep look at Ethan, as if trying to discern whether he was bluffing or truly as calm as he appeared. Unfortunately, Ethan continued to look at her indifferently. In the end, Christina internalized her emotions, spoke expressionlessly, then turned and left. Her reaction surprised the rest of the Black Dragon Society, but they quickly followed Christina's lead. Chapter 78, She is indeed a very composed woman. No wonder she managed to build a killer organization like the Black Dragon Society in just a few years. Watching the group leave, Ethan's eyes flickered with contemplation. Just as last night's hunt accurately identified the members of the Black Dragon Society, Ethan had already conducted a detailed investigation and gained understanding through the Hunter's License Intelligence Network. Naturally, this included Christina, the president of the Black Dragon Society. She was a woman of remarkable strength and skills. From the inception of the Black Dragon Society to its current scale, it took only a few years. The person behind such an accomplishment is Christina. Even though they were adversaries, Ethan had to admire such a woman. Closing the door, Ethan turned around to see Lisa and Mia in the suite, both prepared. Lisa held black and white guns in her hands. Next to Mia stood two men who appeared indistinguishable from each other, wearing half armor and holding long swords and shields. This was another unit of the Guardian extension, called the Warrior's Arms. Named for its type. Have they gone? Seeing Ethan close the door, both Lisa and Mia relaxed from their tense stances, and Lisa asked aloud. Yes, they're gone. The others are much calmer than we expected. Ethan nodded slightly, speaking as he walked toward the sofa in the living room, casually sitting down. With no fight breaking out, Lisa and Mia retracted their abilities and joined him, sitting on either side. The calmer they are, the more we need to be on guard. Although they didn't act just now, there's no guarantee it wasn't deployed to make us drop our guard. Lisa pondered. Mia nodded in agreement, adding, Lisa is right, they're killers, and they might not respect the order of the Sky Arena. Of course, we can't let our defenses down, but there's no need to be too nervous. If they dare to act in the Sky Arena, we might not be the weakest party. Ethan replied with a light smile. He had confidence in his strength. Although Lisa and Mia were weaker, they were still at the level of second-tier masters and wouldn't lose to some champion-level fighters. If a battle did break out, as long as Ethan restrained the main combat forces, the two women wouldn't have too much trouble protecting themselves, regardless of the outcome. Moreover, the Sky Arena wouldn't stand idly by, as that would significantly affect its prestige. Of course, to prevent the others from acting recklessly, Ethan had offered them a way out. As the saying goes, it's better to open up than to block. After killing many of their members, including Christina's brother, they would undoubtedly have a strong desire for revenge. So Ethan proposed a deathmatch as a solution. Compared to offending V5, seeking revenge in the form of a deathmatch was undoubtedly more in line with their interests and could also capture their attention. But no matter what choice they make, strength ultimately determines the outcome. Ethan thought silently. At the Black Dragon Society's headquarters on the 230th floor, Christina and the Black Dragon Society members returned. Sandy, gather all the information about that guy for me. I want to know everything about him. Notify everyone outside to return to the headquarters immediately. Entering the headquarters, Christina stopped, turned around, and instructed Sandy, who was following. Even though she suppressed her inner anger, her face remained very grim, exuding a terrifying aura. Yes, I'll get right on it. Sandy nodded repeatedly, not daring to delay, and hurriedly left to carry out her tasks. President, are you really planning a death match with that guy? Bernie couldn't help but ask. Christina shifted her gaze to him and replied coldly, do you have any other ideas? Whether he was bluffing or not, he's currently in the Sky Arena. Do you dare engage him here? This. Bernie showed an embarrassed expression. Of course, he didn't dare. Even the top forces in the underground world wouldn't provoke a behemoth like V5, let alone him. Zachary spoke up, President, if you want to gauge his strength, there might be a good opportunity soon. What do you mean? Christina looked at him. Zachary explained, although he just had a match not long ago, he submitted an application immediately after winning. If nothing changes, he should have another match soon. There was another detail he didn't mention, that he and Lance were together at the time. Zachary didn't explain this because he feared the president's anger if she found out he was with Lance. Really? Then find out who his next opponent will be. Christina ordered as her eyes flashed with determination. Zachary accepted the task without question. Days passed. Ethan remained in his suite with Lisa and Mia, using the gravity ring to exercise and awaiting the Black Dragon Society's move. However, neither the Black Dragon Society nor Christina made a move. Instead, the competition Ethan had applied for before was approaching. In front of the computer desk, taking advantage of the time to recover his strength, Ethan handed the gravity ring to Lisa, whose turn it was to train. He sat in the chair, watching the video playing on the computer screen. The video content was about a battle Christina had experienced in the Sky Arena. Just as Christina decided to gather information about Ethan through a deathmatch for revenge, Ethan was also preparing. The battles of players above the 200th floor of the Sky Arena are recorded and sold publicly, especially those at the champion level. Using his hunter license, Ethan easily found information about Christina after spending some money and also found videos of her previous battles. Chapter 79. If you know yourself and your enemy, you can fight 100 battles without danger. Although Ethan has confidence in his own strength, he will not be careless. Understanding the enemy's strength is essential. In fact, this is not the first time Ethan has watched Christina's fight videos. Whenever it's not practice time, he would sit down and watch them carefully, analyzing the opponent's abilities and strength in detail. At that moment, Mia came over with a glass of juice and placed it on the table beside him. They haven't made any moves yet. Could it be that they have other plans? Mia asked softly, standing beside Ethan after watching the computer screen for a moment. Ethan picked up the juice, took a sip through the straw, and replied, "It's possible, but regardless, they will definitely take action. Understanding their strength is never in vain." "You're right." Mia nodded slightly and continued, "And tomorrow, do you think your opponent will want to know your information as well?" Tomorrow was the day of Ethan's competition. "Don't worry, I've taken the time to learn about the opponent beforehand," Ethan said with a smile, turning to her. "It seems I was worrying too much. I was concerned you might be too focused on the Black Dragon Society and forget about the next match," Mia said, her expression relaxing. Ethan took her hand, gently pulling her to sit on his lap before giving her a quick kiss on the lips. "You've worked hard these past few days. Once the Black Dragon Society is dealt with, let's leave the martial arts school aside for a bit, and I'll take you and Lisa around," Ethan said softly. Like Lisa, Mia alternated using the gravity ring for practice during Ethan's rest. Mia was also always responsible for conducting reconnaissance around the area, acting as a scout soldier to prevent the Black Dragon Society from making a surprise attack in the Sky Arena. "Yeah," Mia responded softly, resting her head against Ethan's chest, her usually cold demeanor seeming to soften. Her previous wish was to protect the martial arts school her father left her. However, as she gained more experience, especially after Ethan supported the martial arts gym on her behalf, her thoughts gradually focused on Ethan. After all, she was someone who was cold on the outside but soft on the inside. If she had someone to rely on, she preferred to stand silently behind the person who sheltered her from the storm. Now, Ethan was the person she could rely on. The next day in the venue on the 200th floor of the Sky Arena, the flow of people surged, and people of all kinds could be seen entering the entrances and exits, filling the auditorium to capacity. Dear viewers, today's game is about to begin. The two players on the field are player Ethan and player Jim. As the auditorium filled, the commentator girl in the commentary room looked excited and took the microphone, shouting passionately. The first player to appear is Ethan. Player Ethan's record is 8 wins and 2 losses. If he wins today's game, he will reach 9 wins, leaving just one more victory to challenge the reigning champion. As the commentator's voice echoed throughout the venue, Ethan, wearing a black combat uniform, leisurely walked out from one of the entrances leading to the ring. "He is coming out, it's Ethan. We must win. I've bet on you again, so you must win. Not only is he handsome, but he's also so strong. Go, Ethan." As Ethan walked out, the audience immediately burst into cheers and applause, with many girls screaming as if he were a celebrity. In the Sky Arena, Ethan was already a star player. Especially after defeating Hua Blang, who was also a star player, he attracted even more attention. Is it starting? Ethan is always so popular. Naturally, Lisa and Mia were also in the audience. When they saw Ethan, who was the first to appear, both women perked up, their eyes immediately focusing on him. At the same time, somewhere in the auditorium, a group from the Black Dragon Society, led by Christina, was also present. Christina sat in the middle, with Zachary and Bernie on her right, and Sandy and a new woman on her left. "Is that him?" the new woman asked, her eyes fixed on Ethan as he walked onto the ring. This woman was Grace, the last core member of the Black Dragon Society. She had been on a mission outside but, like other members, was called back to headquarters. Grace had short, masculine hair and a robust figure that could make many men feel inadequate. After being summoned back, Grace naturally understood the situation. And through the intelligence collected by Sandy, Grace was no stranger to Ethan. But compared to the video, seeing him in person, Grace scrutinized Ethan carefully. "Sandy, have you done what was asked?" Christina turned her gaze from Ethan in the ring to Sandy, sitting on her left. Sandy quickly turned to the president and replied, "Don't worry, I've taken care of it. In this match, Jim will definitely give it his all. In the same competition, with more benefits, greater efforts would naturally be made." To better assess Ethan's strength, the Black Dragon Society contacted Jim, Ethan's opponent, and bought him off at a high price. Is that necessary? From the opponent's previous match videos, although his strength is decent, it's nothing exceptional. With your strength, President, you should be able to defeat him easily. Grace couldn't help but say. Just as Ethan found videos of Christina's previous matches, Sandy also found videos of Ethan's previous matches while gathering information. Including Christina, others in the Black Dragon Society had also watched and analyzed his strength. Chapter 80, Don't Be Careless. Based on the intelligence we've gathered, the opponent may have hidden his strength in previous games. Zachary, sitting on the other side of Christina, spoke up, echoed by Bernie. Yes, the intelligence collected by Sandy indicates that Woodrow was killed in a very short time. Even if it was due to carelessness, it shows that the opponent has hidden his strength in past matches. Bernie added seriously. Christina didn't speak. After receiving Sandy's answer, her eyes returned to the central ring. Her facial expressions were well controlled and didn't show any changes, but when Christina looked at Ethan, her eyes were full of hatred and murderous intent. If it weren't for the cautious habits she had developed over the years, she would have already sought to avenge her brother in a fight to the death. "Hold on, Lance, your sister will avenge you soon," Christina murmured in her heart, looking at Ethan in the ring with even sharper and more serious eyes. In the arena after Ethan appeared, his opponent, Jim, soon followed. Jim was a man in his early 30s, wearing a vest and spiked metal gloves on his hands. Once both entered the ring, Ethan and Jim locked eyes, sizing each other up. "Though I don't know how you offended them, since they've offered such a high price, you can't blame me," Jim said, looking at Ethan with fiery eyes. Jim's heart raced at the thought of earning a large reward if he could kill or even injure Ethan. Ethan keenly noticed something unusual in Jim's gaze, prompting him to narrow his eyes slightly. The players are in position. At this moment, the referee stepped between the two, loudly explaining the rules of the game as usual. Once finished, he raised his right hand. "I declare this game officially begun." After announcing the start, the referee quickly stepped aside, clearing the field. Simultaneously, Jim, who had been waiting impatiently, sprang into action. "Ha!" With a loud shout, Jim's muscles swelled under his vest as he swung his right fist, aiming directly at Ethan from a distance. Mid-punch, a black round hole suddenly appeared in front of his fist, and then his fist disappeared into it. "What is this?" Ethan's eyes remained focused on Jim. He immediately noticed the anomaly in Jim's attack, and simultaneously, he keenly detected a sudden sound of air being displaced behind his head. Whoosh! Without hesitation, Ethan moved swiftly, traversing several meters as if teleporting. Where Ethan had stood, a black round hole appeared in midair, extending Jim's fist, which punched exactly where Ethan's head had been. Transmuter's Nin. Ethan glanced at the spot he just vacated. Seeing the sudden appearance of the fist arm, he quickly recognized the nature of Jim's ability. Each category of Nin has distinct characteristics. For example, Transmuter's Nin often involves telekinesis, spatial manipulation, etc. The Nin Jim used was highly characteristic of a transmuter, allowing Ethan to easily determine Jim's type. "Aha!" Jim shouted again, delivering another punch. After Ethan dodged, Jim didn't relent. Instead, he quickly retracted his right fist, clenched his left, and punched again. The fist vanished into the black round hole that appeared mid-flight, while another identical hole opened beside Ethan, and the fist extended to strike Ethan's temple. Nin energy transformed into a transparent spherical shape, expanding to a 5-meter diameter, covering all angles. Ethan keenly detected the fist appearing next to him. Unfazed, he moved swiftly, avoiding the spiked punch with ease. "Let's see how many times you can dodge." Jim's eyes turned cruel as Ethan dodged his 2 punches. He immediately launched a flurry of jabs, his fists creating afterimages. Black round holes appeared repeatedly, swallowing Jim's fists and reappearing around Ethan, launching a relentless assault. There it is, the moving fist. Jim's signature move. Amid Jim's fierce offensive, Ethan seems to be in trouble. The commentator's excited voice echoed throughout the venue. While the Sky Arena's commentary avoids revealing Nin, it describes it with certain moves. The wind from the punches howled. Not only was the direction of Jim's punches unpredictable, but their force was formidable. especially with the spiked gloves, which further enhanced their lethality. Of course, the most important factor was the nin infusion. Jim's offensive was fierce, but Ethan's defensive tactics were equally impressive. Using N to sense his surroundings, Ethan detected every fist's appearance, swiftly dodging each one. Executing small, precise movements, Ethan seemed to dance on the edge of a blade, using his agility to evade Jim's punches repeatedly, never once getting hit. Whizzing. Suddenly, while dodging, Ethan shot out 2 spider threads from his hands, one left, one right, anchoring them to the thick stone slabs of the arena. With a sudden burst of speed, Ethan rushed forward, escaping Jim's offensive, and brought his arms together. Boom boom. 2 loud crashes followed. In tandem with Ethan's movements, the spider threads contracted, lifting the stone slabs from the ring and hurling them towards Jim with tremendous force. Damn. Jim's expression shifted slightly, his face a mix of shock and anger. He didn't expect Ethan to not only dodge his swift attacks but also find the opportunity to counterattack. Chapter 81, Crush It For Me. In shock and anger, Jim let out a loud shout and quickly thrust out both fists. As the black round holes shifted, his fists instantly appeared in front of the 2 stone slabs flying towards him. Boom boom. The fists with spiked gloves, infused with powerful nin, struck the stone slabs one after another. The immense force shattered the thick stone slabs into rubble, scattering them across the arena. Spider thread. Though the stone slabs were shattered, Ethan's movements didn't stop. He continued rushing toward Jim, using the spider thread electric algae attached to one of the stone slabs to encircle his opponent. Don't even try to get close. Seeing Ethan's attack, Jim was alarmed and quickly used his transmuter ability to punch at him. A fist materialized in front of Ethan through a black round hole, aiming straight for his face. However, as the black round hole appeared, Ethan deftly leaned to the side, dodging the punch. Simultaneously, he activated the spider thread to retract. Whoosh! Like Hisoka's use of his bungee gum. The spider thread was incredibly tough and exerted a strong pulling force when contracting. Ethan's speed surged due to the retraction force of the spider thread, allowing him to close the distance to his opponent almost instantly. With astonishing speed, Ethan turned his whip-like legs into afterimages and aimed them at Jim's head. Bang! A violent collision ensued. Facing Ethan's whip kick, Jim hastily raised his arms to block. The tremendous power exploded, causing the surrounding air to burst, sending waves visible to the naked eye. When Ethan's whip legs struck Jim's arms, Jim's expression changed drastically as he felt an overwhelming impact. The stone slab beneath his feet shattered, and Jim's feet sank into the arena floor. His heels kept striking the stone, forcing him back and carving 2 long grooves into the ring. Severe pain radiated from his arms, causing Jim's face to contort with agony. Ethan's whip kick not only knocked Jim back but also inflicted significant injuries on his arms. Come here. As Jim retreated, Ethan landed lightly in the ring. At the same time, he focused on his opponent and quickly pulled back with his left hand. A spider thread was suddenly connected between Ethan's left hand and Jim's shoulder. This was the follow-up attack Ethan had prepared when he launched his whip kick. As Ethan pulled, the tough spider thread contracted rapidly, exerting a strong pulling force that caught Jim off guard and yanked him from the ground, sending him flying towards Ethan. The muscles in the palm of Ethan's right hand twisted, and in an instant, his nails became razor-sharp, transforming his right hand into a beast-like claw. When Ethan pulled Jim toward him, he also used his transformed right hand, now a sharp claw, to strike at Jim's neck. No. Jim's pupils shrank violently, the strong pulling force making it difficult for him to move or dodge. He tried to block with his arms, but his movements were too slow due to his injuries. In a panic, he attempted to gather nin to protect his neck, but before he could, Ethan's claw had already reached him. In a flash, Ethan had passed by the airborne Jim. Plop! 2 distinct sounds erupted. One came from the ring, the other from below. The sound on the ring was Jim's body collapsing, while the sound below came from his head, which had fallen with a ferocious expression. The body lying on the ring was a headless corpse, blood gushing from its neck. Ah! Many in the audience screamed at the sight of the gory scene in the ring. Conversely, some were even more thrilled and excited, cheering fervently. Let's go! Seeing that the outcome in the ring was decided, Christina in the audience took a deep look at the victorious Ethan and then stood up, leaving her seat. Sandy and the others quickly followed her. The group swiftly exited the venue. In the arena, Ethan turned to look at the corpse, casually flicking his right hand. Instantly, the blood on his palm splattered onto the ground, forming a bright red line. This technique is really effective. Raising his right hand, now transformed into a sharp claw, Ethan glanced at the body before shifting his focus to his hand, ignoring the audience's uproar. The nails were sharp, and the entire hand appeared particularly fierce and felt as hard as steel. The claw form Ethan's right hand had taken was exactly the Zoltic assassination technique that Killua used during the Hunter exam. Now that he had performed it, it was evident he had successfully analyzed and learned the technique through his extraordinary insight. Using unique techniques to control the muscles and thereby change the structure of the palm. This technique seems not to be limited to the palm but could extend to the entire body. Ethan thought thoughtfully. The right hand, transformed into a claw, was not only terrifyingly sharp at the fingertips but also incredibly tough, akin to steel. Since the palms could change structure, what about the body? In the original series, Silva Zoltic, the current patriarch of the Zoltic family, is described as having a body of steel. Ethan couldn't help but draw parallels, speculating that Silva Zoltic's body of steel was possibly an extension of this technique. The nin's aura can enhance defense, but who wouldn't want an extra layer of protection? If this technique could indeed be extended to the whole body, it would undoubtedly bolster his defense significantly. Of course, Ethan had only just begun mastering this technique. Extending it to his entire body would require further study and practice. Black Dragon Society headquarters. After taking the elevator back to the 230th floor, Christina and the others entered the conference room directly. Now it's absolutely certain that Woodrow was killed by Ethan, and he did indeed hide his nin abilities. After everyone sat down, Zachary was the first to speak in a serious tone. Although Ethan had quickly killed Woodrow, many witnesses from the Iron Fist martial arts school were present. Naturally, the Black Dragon Society had sent people to contact members of the Iron Fist martial arts school to learn the full details of Woodrow's murder. In the match just now, Ethan displayed the spider thread, which undoubtedly confirmed for the Black Dragon Society that he was the one who killed Woodrow. Chapter 82, In this battle, the opponent demonstrated great skills and the ability to release nin in a manner similar to spider silk. If we add in the intelligence gathered previously, it seems the opponent's nin can also create extremely sharp threads. Sandy carefully analyzed Ethan's abilities. Grace, speaking casually, said, "The opponent's strength is indeed good, but compared to the president, it's not worth mentioning." This sentiment was echoed by everyone else, who nodded in agreement. Jim wasn't just any player, otherwise, he wouldn't have been bought off. Ethan defeating him without any injuries is certainly noteworthy, but everyone in the Black Dragon Society who understands Christina's strength knows that if their own president were in the ring, she would definitely win with even greater ease. It would likely result in Jim being killed instantly with a single move. "Shall we set a time?" Bernie asked tentatively. Since the opponent's displayed strength isn't enough to threaten the president, it's natural to proceed with the long-awaited death match. Christina, sitting at the head of the table, said calmly, "Sandy, communicate with the Sky Arena about securing a venue. Once the time is set, inform that guy. Zachary, Bernie, you two will continue to monitor the outside of the Sky Arena to prevent him from escaping. Grace, you'll be my sparring partner, and I'll get myself into peak condition." Orders were issued one after the other, as patience had reached its limit. Having gathered the final intelligence, Christina was ready to exact revenge. Upon receiving their orders, Sandy and the others wasted no time and quickly got to work. Service desk on the 200th floor. After savoring the victory, Ethan returned to the service desk to apply for a new competition. The conflict with the Black Dragon Society appeared to have no impact on him. He continued applying for competitions as usual. He now had 9 victories, needing just one more to qualify to challenge the reigning champion. If the Black Dragon Society still doesn't make any moves in this last game, then I'll just choose Christina as the challenger. After completing the application, Ethan took the elevator back to the floor where he lived. As he looked at the bright elevator doors, he thought silently to himself. After reaching 10 victories, there are 2 ways to challenge the champion. One is to be randomly assigned by the Sky Arena, and the other is to choose a specific champion to challenge. The former is self-explanatory. For the latter, the chosen champion cannot refuse and must participate within the specified time, or they will lose their title. Ethan continued to apply for competitions for this reason. He wouldn't passively wait for the opponent to make a move. Returning to the suite, Ethan saw Lisa and Mia, who had returned first. Naturally, the 3 of them celebrated the victory in a harmonious atmosphere. The next day Ethan sat on the sofa, with Lisa and Mia sitting across from him. After delaying for so many days, they finally couldn't hold back. Lisa said with a smirk, "If my guess is right, they've been gathering intelligence on us, especially on Ethan. They probably watched yesterday's game. After confirming Ethan's strength, they decided to proceed." Mia analyzed softly. The reason the 3 of them weren't practicing as usual but had gathered was that the Black Dragon Society had finally made a move. Just now, Sandy had come on behalf of the Black Dragon Society to inform them that in 3 days, Christina and Ethan would engage in a death match, where both sides would fight to the death. Ethan smiled lightly and said, "Isn't this great? Otherwise, my performance would have been for nothing." If they truly understand my strength now, I'll give them a big surprise in 3 days. Lisa and Mia couldn't help but smile at this. Indeed. In yesterday's game, Ethan was forced to use the abilities of the thread fruit. To show strong enough skills, he had to control it within a certain range, which was quite a performance. In addition to having a floor in the Sky Arena, the champion also enjoys many hidden privileges and influence. For instance, a dedicated venue can be reserved for the Sky Arena. But equally, the Sky Arena won't miss any money-making opportunities. Though the battle between Ethan and Christina was a private duel, the Sky Arena, while agreeing to provide the venue, treated the duel as a featured match. And it's a major competition, comparable to the Champion Challenge. So when 3 days passed, the scheduled venue for the death match was packed to capacity. One is a prestigious champion, and the other is a star player on the 200th floor with 9 victories. After the Sky Arena used these 3 days to promote the game, it undoubtedly attracted a large audience. This game is no different from a Champion Challenge. I wonder if the old champion will defend their title or if the new one will prevail. Christina, yeah, not only is she a champion of the Sky Arena, but she's also the president of the Black Dragon Society. Now she's having a death match with this guy named Ethan. I wonder what conflict happened between them. A few days ago, I heard many members of the Black Dragon Society were attacked and killed by a mysterious person. Given the current situation, that mysterious person is likely this guy named Ethan. Christina's reputation as a champion is well known, especially as she is also the leader of a killer organization. For those in the know, the information that Christina is the president of the Black Dragon Society isn't a secret. Therefore, many came to watch the game, drawn by Christina. Among them were people from similar organizations, those hiding in the underground world, and many powerful non-users. Chapter 83, Lisa and Mia sat in their seats with solemn expressions. Although their intelligence on Christina led them to believe Ethan could win, the two women clearly couldn't relax until the battle was actually over. Similarly, on the other side of the auditorium, the members of the Black Dragon Society, centered around the 4 core members and Sandy, were seated together, watching the arena closely. Now let us welcome the 2 contestants. The Sky Arena was equipped with a commentator as always, and amid the excited shouts, Ethan and Christina were seen walking out of the 2 entrances simultaneously. Ethan wore his usual slim-fitting black combat uniform, looking handsome and formidable. On the other side, Christina had changed out of her cheongsam and into a purple martial arts uniform. Her red hair was tied into a ponytail, hanging casually behind her. The appearance of Ethan and Christina triggered loud cheers in the venue. The audience didn't care that this game was a fight to the death between the 2 players. For them, as long as the battle was exciting, that was enough. They stepped onto the ring one after another, with Ethan and Christina focusing intently on each other. I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Are you ready to join my brother in the grave? Christina said with murderous intent. Hee hee. Ethan responded with a cold smile and made a thumbs-down gesture toward her. It was full of provocation and disdain. Wow. Did you see that? The match hasn't even started yet, but the air is already thick with tension. This match is unlike any other because it's a death battle between Ethan and Christina. There are no rules, it's over only when one of them dies. The commentator shouted exaggeratedly, explaining the game's format. Ahem. Attention, contestants. Ethan's provocative gesture only intensified Christina's murderous intent, making the atmosphere in the ring extremely tense and causing the referee to tremble with fear. However, the referee still had a job to do. He walked between the 2 competitors. Because there were no rules, the referee didn't need to explain much. After a brief introduction, he raised his right hand and announced, "This match officially begins." The referee's announcement caused the audience to focus intently on the ring, eyes wide with anticipation. In particular, non-users in the audience used Geo to better observe the upcoming battle. Among them was a young man with misaligned shirt buttons and sharp eyes wing. Living near the Sky Arena, he had come to watch this challenge match out of curiosity. In the arena, the fight that broke out after the referee's announcement didn't disappoint the audience, who were holding their breath in anticipation. Boom. As soon as the referee finished speaking, and even before he could exit the ring, Christina launched an earth-shattering and ferocious offensive. The stone slab where she had been standing exploded, creating a large crater with a diameter of several feet, the result of her immense power. Dark, ferocious armor suddenly appeared on Christina's body, and she erupted with astonishing power and speed, charging at Ethan with blinding speed. The armor sported 2 horns on the head, scarlet eyes, and a long tail behind it. The jet black armor emerging from Christina's body resembled a fearsome black dragon. This was, in fact, the origin of the Black Dragon Society's name. Ah! Christina was like a bolt of lightning, passing by the referee before he could even retreat. The shock wave from her incredibly fast movement sent the referee flying out of the ring. Bullet thread. Strings of threads imbued with nin burst from Ethan's fingertips, their powerful impact creating a sharp whistle as they tore through the air. Christina's attack was swift and fierce, but Ethan was equally quick to respond. As she charged, Ethan narrowed his eyes and quickly raised his hands, launching his attack with the bullet threads. Whether it was too late to dodge or she had no intention of dodging at all, the threads struck Christina like a shower, creating a dense barrage. However, the black dragon armor that enveloped her body displayed exceptionally strong defense. The threads only left shallow dents, which quickly healed. Similarly, the impact from the bullet threads didn't faze Christina much, and she rapidly closed in on Ethan. Ethan wasn't surprised by the black dragon armor Christina wore. He had already gained a thorough understanding of her nin abilities from watching her previous match videos. The black dragon armor was a manifestation of her manipulator-type nin. According to Ethan's research, Christina's nin allowed her to create the black dragon armor, granting her super strong defense and greatly enhancing her strength and speed. Foot shave thread. As she approached, Ethan didn't panic. Instead, he executed a sharp sweeping kick. Sharp threads extended from his toes, and he used flow to channel his nin from his body to his feet, boosting his attack power. The parts of the black dragon armor covering Christina's hands and feet resembled dragon claws. In response to Ethan's sweeping kick, Christina, her face hidden behind a mask, didn't flinch and countered with her sharp dragon claws. Boom! The claws and foot collided, creating a fierce impact that sent a roaring shockwave through the air, fracturing the ring beneath them and producing a harsh tearing sound. Ethan's right foot clashed with Christina's dragon claws. Her dragon claws attempted to tear through the nin gathered on Ethan's foot, while the sharp threads extending from Ethan's toes sliced into her dragon claws, sending sparks flying. Chapter 84, There was a brief stalemate, and both sides were repelled by the other's strength. Ethan stepped back a few meters, and Christina also stepped back 5 or 6 steps. Her feet, equipped with sharp dragon claws, tore claw marks into the arena floor. Your strength is indeed admirable. After a round of confrontation, Ethan locked his eyes on Christina, a glint flashing in his eyes. Whether it was speed, strength, or defense, Christina's performance matched his expectations. Double dragon strangulation. Controlling the realm of threads that spread beneath the ring, Ethan launched a counterattack without hesitation. Boom boom. Gravel scattered as 2 arm-thick dragon-shaped threads shot out from the ring at Christina's feet. They quickly wrapped around her legs and spiraled upwards, attempting to reach her head to attack. Get out of my way. Christina reacted swiftly. As soon as her legs were entangled by the dragon-shaped threads, she twisted them and unleashed an immense burst of power. Clank clank clank, the thread snapped furiously. Christina was not like her brother Lance, who couldn't break free from the dragon-shaped threads. With her power, she shattered the 2 dragon-shaped threads in an instant. After freeing herself from the threads, Christina didn't wait for more threads to attack. She immediately enveloped herself in a terrifying murderous aura and charged at Ethan with alarming speed. 5-colored line. Ethan's expression was cold as he continuously waved his hands, forming a tight web of sharp threads imbued with nin. Christina, rushing forward, crashed into the thread web. The black dragon armor on her body was savagely cut by the sharp threads, causing sparks to fly. Moreover, the thread web slowed her momentum, preventing her from closing in on Ethan completely. Damn it! Christina's heart was filled with shock and anger as she swung her dragon claws to tear through the web. The threads were torn apart by her immense strength, but blocked by the web, she shifted from an offensive to a defensive stance. Boom! Behind Christina, a thread spear shot out like lightning, carrying a formidable impact as it aimed for her back. Not good. Christina sensed the threat behind her and immediately abandoned her attempt to break through the threads, leaping sideways to dodge. The thread spear from behind was dodged just in time, but before Christina could land, another spear burst from the ground below her, rising to strike. Damn it, the opponent's attack can actually be hidden underground? Christina's face, hidden under her mask, changed as she hurriedly twisted her waist. Shit. During her rotation, Christina moved a certain distance away but was still grazed by the spear on the edge of her waist and abdomen, causing sparks to erupt. The impact from the spear also caused Christina to lose her balance and fall awkwardly to the ground not far away. Whoosh! Ethan flew out quickly, dispersing the web as he shot forward like lightning. He swiftly closed in on Christina, then jumped up and delivered a powerful kick. Boom! The tyrannical force exploded, shattering the arena floor into countless pieces of gravel and creating a massive crater. But Ethan was the only one in the crater. As Christina fell under Ethan's whip kick, she moved swiftly like a beast, using all her limbs to dodge Ethan's attack. Die to me. As the ring exploded, Christina, who had dodged the attack, immediately rushed back. She shouted angrily, throwing a powerful punch at Ethan, who quickly jumped out of the crater. Hard. Ethan didn't dodge. Instead, he focused all his energy on his right fist, stepped forward, and met Christina's punch head-on. Boom. In an instant, Ethan and Christina's fists collided, producing a deafening roar. The characteristics of the black dragon armor made Christina's strength comparable to an enhancer's nin. When developing her nin, Christina's black dragon armor took a path similar to an enhancer, despite being a manipulator. This development wasn't a misguided path like HxH Lang's but rather a way of developing nin based on her own strengths. The collision of their powerful forces stirred up roaring winds and impacts, causing the arena to feel like a storm had swept across it. The ground beneath their clash collapsed rapidly, forming a larger crater than the one caused by Ethan's earlier kick. Moreover, the arena shook violently, with dense cracks appearing at the edges. Gravel flew out like bullets, impacting the ground and creating small craters. Their bodies dropped rapidly as the pit collapsed, and their fists, highly concentrated with nin, briefly separated after the fierce confrontation. To be precise, both Ethan and Christina were repelled by each other's power. One step at a time. The residual force on Ethan's fist caused him to take 7 or 8 steps back without stopping, leaving a series of deeply dented footprints. In contrast, Christina, who was also knocked back, took only 5 or 6 steps before stabilizing herself. Just using Geo isn't enough. Ethan was calm and composed. While steadying himself, his eyes remained locked on Christina. When he realized she had regained her footing first, Ethan felt a chill in his heart and decisively activated the Emperor engine. Boom boom boom. An overpowering roar, like an engine revving, emanated from his body. Christina's fewer steps back meant she held the upper hand in the confrontation and had seized the offensive advantage. Whoosh! Her feet, shaped like dragon claws, tore up the ground beneath her. Amongst the flying gravel, Christina stabilized herself and sprinted out at an alarming speed, like a tiger released from its cage. She aimed to attack Ethan before he could fully recover. Dragon Claw Fist. Like a streak of black lightning, Christina rushed in front of Ethan in the blink of an eye, striking at his head with her dragon-clawed right hand. Chapter 85. Ethan's heart pounded fiercely like an engine, and with every beat, immense power coursed through his body, enhancing his strength. In the initial phase, the Emperor engine increases physical strength by 10%, not to mention that Ethan has been rigorously training with the gravity ring recently. The physical enhancement of more than 10% not only boosted his strength but also allowed his nin to exert stronger offensive and defensive capabilities. Ethan, who initially struggled to stabilize himself, suddenly burst forth with new strength. Not only did he regain his balance, but he also reacted swiftly, crouching down to avoid Christina's incoming dragon claws. Way of war, invasion and plundering like fire. The nin gathered in his fist was like gunpowder in a cannonball. Ethan's eyes gleamed sharply, and with each step, his right fist fired like a cannon. The air, compressed by the immense force of his punch, vibrated and roared as it tangled upwards toward Christina's head. Feeling the threat from Ethan's punch, Christina, who was about to strike again, instinctively wanted to retreat. But as she did, a massive thread sprang from the ground, instantly entangling her legs. At other times, Christina could easily break free from such threads with her strength. But now, the brief restraint cost her the chance to dodge. Boom. Ethan's fist struck hard against Christina's masked face. The explosive force of the punch produced a dull roar and stirred up visible air waves. Even though the black dragon armor offered strong defense, under Ethan's explosive blow, the mask sank deeply inward. Ethan's fist felt the impact against Christina's face beneath the mask, denting it just like the mask itself. Wow! Under the terrifying impact of the punch, Christina's body leaned back, her feet leaving the ground as she flew backward like a cannonball. But Ethan's offensive wasn't over. As Christina was about to fly out of the ring, he quickly manipulated the thread field, causing a thread spear to shoot up from the ring. Boom. This time, Christina couldn't dodge and was struck hard in the lower back by the powerful spear. It not only dented the armor but also sent Christina soaring high into the sky. How is this possible? Impossible. President. In the audience, members of the Black Dragon Society watched the battle unfold with horror. Everyone in the Black Dragon Society was shocked as Ethan faced off against Christina head-on. The reason was simple, the strength Ethan displayed far exceeded their expectations. Array of line guns. Ethan looked up at Christina, who was blasted high into the sky, his eyes cold as he raised his foot and stomped on the ground. Boom boom boom, the arena shook violently, and in an instant, thread guns soared into the sky like dragons from the sea, surrounding Christina in midair before launching a relentless assault. Deafening roars echoed throughout the venue. Christina became a living target, continuously blasted back and forth by the powerful thread guns. Not only was she unable to fall, but the black dragon armor on her body also deformed and twisted visibly. Such a fierce and terrifying offensive caused waves of uproar among the audience, leaving many dumbfounded. Christina was the host, the favored contender in this match. But now, the battle's progression surpassed many people's expectations. Christina was not only at a disadvantage but also had no room to fight back. In the indiscriminate barrage of the thread gun array, Christina was struck at least hundreds of times in a short period. The black dragon armor became tattered under the continuous assault, with cracks appearing and blood seeping through. Ethan observed Christina, who was being blasted in the air. He raised his right hand as another thread spear shot out of the ground at his feet. This spear differed from the others. It spun at an incredibly high speed after emerging from the ground. The high-speed rotation stirred up air currents visible to the naked eye. Simultaneously, Ethan used the thread field to channel a large amount of nin into the spear, maximizing its power. Spiral gun, heart-piercing poisonous dragon diamond. Ethan's body erupted with intense murderous intent, instantly dispersing the continuous barrage of thread guns. He then controlled the spiral spear at his feet to shoot up at an alarming speed. Like an astonishing tornado. As the thread gun array ceased its attack, Christina, who had just begun to fall, was struck hard by the tornado-like spiral spear. Boom. The concentrated nin and high-speed rotation gave the spiral spear terrifying penetrating power. The already severely damaged black dragon armor couldn't withstand such an attack. It was pierced by the spiral spear, entering through Christina's chest and exiting through her back. Ah! A shrill scream emanated from the dented and deformed mask but quickly faded to silence. The high-speed rotation created wind-like airwaves that spread through the air. With the scream gone, Ethan retracted the thread gun formation and the spiral spear back into the thread field beneath the ring. Christina, with a gaping hole in her chest, fell from the sky amidst sprays of blood, landing on the ring like a torn sack. Did she die? There's no way she's alive with such injuries. I didn't expect Christina to lose. It just shows she met a formidable opponent. This man named Ethan is extremely powerful. Christina's impact on the ring snapped the stunned audience out of their daze, sparking heated discussions and even cheers. Some spectators supported Christina, while others were rooting for Ethan. Chapter 86, We won. Ethan really won. It seems there is no surprise, Ethan is still so incredible. Lisa and Mia, who had been closely watching the battle, breathed a sigh of relief, happiness evident on their faces. In contrast, the atmosphere among the Black Dragon Society members was full of despair. Some faces were pale, while others wore expressions of disbelief. Christina was dead. The heart-piercing poisonous dragon diamond used by Ethan not only penetrated her chest but also crushed her heart. Looking at the body that had fallen on the ring, Ethan slowly exhaled. As a host of the Sky Arena, Christina's strength was far superior to that of Woodrow, whom Ethan had previously defeated. If Woodrow was the best among second-rate fighters, then Christina was at the top among first-rate fighters. Among the opponents Ethan had faced, Christina's strength was second only to Hisoka. After confirming Christina's death, Ethan was ready to retract the Line Realm. However, he suddenly stopped, his gaze shifting slightly as he looked at Christina. Click. An nin-like black mist emerged from Christina's corpse. The next second, the black dragon armor on the corpse fell away and began to restore itself at an alarming rate. Boom. As the black dragon armor restored to its full state, it changed form. Two metal wings extended out, transforming into a real black dragon, erupting with terrifying nin, making the surrounding air vibrate and roar. Vicious, violent, resentful. The emergence of the black mist and the sudden transformation of the black dragon armor occurred in a short span of time. The nin erupting from the black dragon armor was not only immense but also filled with a suffocating, negative aura. No, it's the thought of death. What a terrifying aura, but it generated even stronger nin. This is the thought of death. Is the president really dead? When the terrifying nin filled with negative energy erupted from the black dragon armor, many spectators, including Lisa, Mia, and members of the Black Dragon Society, changed their expressions. All of these individuals were nin users, and they recognized the transformation that had happened to Christina. Nin is a very spiritual power. You can wield nin while alive, and after death, if you have a strong obsession, your nin may not dissipate but instead become a more powerful thought of death. This was the case with Christina. Although her body had perished, her strong obsession caused her nin not to dissipate but instead transform into a thought of death, attaching to her nin ability, the black dragon armor. Is this the thought of death? Ethan also recognized the transformation in Christina and quickly jumped back, maintaining distance from the black dragon armor that erupted with the thought of death. A look of surprise appeared on his face. He had killed many evil individuals, but this was the first time encountering the thought of death. However, this didn't impede his understanding of the concept. With Christina's strength, her transformation into a thought of death resulted in very terrifying power. Thoughts of death follow the obsessive actions at the time of demise. Christina's obsession undoubtedly stemmed from Ethan, as she sought vengeance for her brother and herself. Roar. The black dragon armor transformed into a dragon appeared alive. Surrounded by the black mist like thought of death, its scarlet eyes quickly locked onto Ethan. Then, with a deafening roar, its wings whipped up howling airwaves, speeding towards Ethan like lightning. The air was torn apart, and the black dragon armor moved at a speed far exceeding Christina's previous capabilities. Wherever it passed, air currents danced wildly. Is the target really me? Keenly aware of the black dragon armor's attack, Ethan's eyes flashed, and he responded immediately. Cobweb wall. As he continued to retreat, Ethan waved his right arm in front of him. Hundreds of silk threads extended from his palm, forming a huge spider web that blocked his path like a barrier. Boom. The black dragon armor, flying at terrifying speed, crashed into the cobweb wall, causing a violent impact and radiation spread. The silk threads comprising the cobweb wall were incredibly tough, and the web's structure effectively absorbed the impact force. Although the black dragon armor's collision was powerful, it only dented the cobweb wall and did not break through its defense. If you won't rest in peace after death, then I'll ensure you do. The appearance of the thought of death caught Ethan off guard, but it did not induce panic. With a cold snort in his heart, Ethan stopped the opponent's impact and launched a counterattack with sharp eyes. So what if it was a thought of death? He hadn't been intimidated when Christina was alive, and he wouldn't be after her death. In the thread field, behind the black dragon armor, thread spears soared into the sky like dragons, then turned in midair and stabbed at the black dragon armor with overwhelming force. The thought of death might make the nun stronger, but it only followed the obsession's power before death and lacked wisdom. Facing the thread spear attack from behind, the black dragon armor had no intention of dodging, focusing instead on breaking through the cobweb wall. Boom boom boom. A violent roar ensued as the thread spears bombarded the black dragon armor. Each blow stirred up roaring airwaves and bright sparks. Under the continuous strong attacks, the black dragon armor's surface quickly developed numerous dents, and the impact of the thread spears further dented the cobweb wall. Clank clank clank, thread snapped, but Ethan was already acting. Waving his right hand back, hundreds of silk threads extended from his palm, quickly intertwining to form a thick thread column, stretching to its limit like a rubber band. Chapter 87, Super Strike Whip. As the cobweb wall completely collapsed under continuous impact, the black dragon armor flew quickly towards Ethan due to inertia. Ethan's eyes flashed as he suddenly pulled the thick thread column. The extreme stretch rebound instantly propelled the thick thread column like lightning, accurately striking the flying black dragon armor. Shit. Like laser cutting, sparks flew as the black dragon armor was cut in half by the super strike whip. Even the arena was split in two, with a straight crack appearing. Dragon's Bite. As the super strike whip was about to crash into the audience, Ethan immediately dispersed it and quickly shot out threads with his left hand. A multitude of silk threads erupted from his left hand, forming a mighty silver dragon. It opened its mouth and swiftly swallowed the black dragon armor, now severed in two. Kai kai kai. A hair-raising cutting sound emanated from within the silver dragon's body, which extended more than 10 meters. Inside were countless sharp threads, frantically cutting and consuming the black dragon armor. Thoughts of death do not constitute life, so even after cutting the black dragon armor in half, Ethan remained cautious. His goal was to completely annihilate the opponent. If this didn't succeed, Ethan would have no choice but to retreat. The cutting lasted for nearly a minute before stopping. Is it over? Ethan felt the movement within the silver dragon, his expression shifting slightly. He transformed the silver dragon back into silk threads, retracting them into his body. A large number of black crystals then fell from the air onto the ring. These black crystals originated from the black dragon armor, now cut and shattered, and most importantly, the negative thought of death had vanished. Fortunately, it seemed successful. After carefully observing for a while, Ethan finally relaxed after confirming that the thought of death had indeed disappeared. The thought of death is certainly a very dangerous phenomenon. Thoughts of death attached to one's own creation, like Christina's, are somewhat manageable, but those intangible thoughts of death are truly difficult to confront. Now, all that's left are these individuals. With Christina completely eliminated, the only ones remaining were the remnants of the Black Dragon Society. Ethan retracted the line realm, turned, and focused on a section of the auditorium. Seated there were the members of the Black Dragon Society. Even from a distance, Ethan could clearly see the pale faces of the Black Dragon Society members and sensed the fear in their eyes when they looked at him. Despite the appearance of the thought of death, the duel, which was technically a competition but in reality a fight to the death, concluded smoothly after Ethan resolved the thought of death. Of course, this duel also made many people remember Ethan. Ethan ignored the external reactions because he needed to address the aftermath involving the Black Dragon Society. You are all very smart. I thought you might choose to flee. In the living room of the luxurious suite, Ethan sat on the sofa with authority, Looking playfully at the 4 individuals standing opposite him, Zachary, Bernie, Grace, and Sandy, who had been Christina's assistant. Lisa and Mia stood behind Ethan, also observing the 4 individuals opposite them, maintaining necessary vigilance. We wouldn't dare. We're fully aware that we're not your match, so we're willing to surrender. We're prepared to accept any conditions if you're willing to let us go. Zachary, Bernie, Grace, and Sandy were all very uneasy. Upon hearing Ethan's words, they hurriedly explained, their attitudes respectful, or rather, fearful. After all, stubborn individuals are few. At least, the 4 of them were not inclined to stubbornness. The situation at hand was actually quite simple. After Christina was killed by Ethan, and having witnessed Ethan's powerful strength, Zachary and the 4 main members of the Black Dragon Society all chose to retreat. A killer organization naturally holds no true friendships. Perhaps when Christina was alive, her authority could suppress the entire Black Dragon Society, but after her death, everything became history. Even Christina's close confidants, like Sandy, had no desire for revenge and only wished to survive. Of course, Ethan had already recovered his strength and energy by the time he accepted the visit from these individuals. Although he wasn't seriously injured in the battle with Christina, he was left quite exhausted. Surrender. Ethan looked at the frightened 4 individuals on the opposite side, a thoughtful expression on his face, as if considering whether to accept their surrender, but in reality, he was checking his system. Black Dragon Sorrow, no time limit, destroy the Black Dragon before you die. 80%, regarding the achievement of annihilating the Black Dragon Society. In addition to the description of this achievement, there was also a completion percentage listed. 80% indicated that 20% remained to complete the achievement. In fact, when Ethan and Lisa hunted the members of the Black Dragon Society that night, the completion level was already displayed, but only 10% was completed during that hunt. In other words, by killing Christina this time, he directly increased the achievement's completion rate by 70%. However, considering that Christina was the president of the Black Dragon Society and the strongest member, it was understandable that her death would significantly boost the completion rate. It's not that I can't accept your surrender. After all, essentially, I have no real conflict with you. All the reasons stem from Lance. Now that he and Christina are dead, the grudges between us are settled, but I have one condition: the Black Dragon Society must be disbanded. I don't want to hear the name of this organization ever again. After a moment, Ethan said slowly with a calm demeanor. Chapter 88, Zachary and the other 3, who were anxious, were overjoyed upon hearing this and hurriedly said, no problem. We will disband the Black Dragon Society immediately, and you'll never hear that name again. Everything will be according to your arrangements, sir. Compared to saving their own lives, disbanding the Black Dragon Society seemed trivial to them. In fact, Ethan's request was much simpler than the 4 had anticipated. Don't just talk about it, make it happen. In addition to you 4, you need to ensure that others in the Black Dragon Society accept the dissolution. In short, I'll give you 1 day to handle it. After tomorrow, if I find anyone using the Black Dragon Society's name, no matter where you hide, I'll find you one by one and make your lives worse than death. Ethan snorted coldly, exuding a terrifying aura. It was as if the entire room was engulfed in a dark vortex, daunting and overwhelming. Zachary and the others broke into a cold sweat, quickly promising to completely disband the Black Dragon Society within 1 day. All right, get out. After some intimidation, Ethan waved them off. Zachary and the others carefully exited the suite. Are you really not going to deal with them? Didn't your nun give you a mission to eliminate the Black Dragon Society? Lisa asked after they left. Regarding the achievement, Black Dragon Sorrow, assigned by the system, Ethan had mentioned it to Lisa and Mia, adding motivation to their side. I want to verify whether eliminating the Black Dragon means killing all its members or just dissolving the organization. Ethan replied, crossing his arms and leaning back to sit more comfortably. Mia, seated on the other side, frowned and asked, then what if we really have to kill all the members to complete the mission? Then we'll take action against the remnants, right? Lisa interjected before Ethan could answer, smiling as she patted Ethan on the shoulder. Smart. If this succeeds, I'll naturally accept it, which saves trouble. But if it fails, we'll revert to the original plan. Ethan also laughed. He intended to keep his promise, but only if the system accepted it. If the system didn't consider the disbandment of the Black Dragon Society as completing the Black Dragon Sorrow achievement, then he would proceed with eliminating the remaining members. Facts proved that although the system was intelligent, it was also quite accommodating. Ethan gave Zachary and the others a day, but within just a few hours, the completion level of the Black Dragon Sorrow achievement jumped from 80% to 100%. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing the Black Dragon Sorrow achievement and receiving the reward, Shadow Seal. Unsure whether the system would accept the disbandment result, Ethan refrained from his usual practice. He remained in the suite's training room, meditating. Once the agreed day had passed, and if the system's Black Dragon Sorrow achievement showed no completion, he planned to hunt down the remaining members. Did it work? When the system prompt echoed in his mind, Ethan, who had been resting with his eyes closed, immediately felt energized and checked the system. Sure enough, the achievement, Black Dragon Sorrow, was marked as completed, and the rewards had been distributed. Ethan relaxed immediately. It was clear that he successfully completed the achievement by disbanding the Black Dragon Society. Completing it this way was optimal, otherwise, he would have had to spend time and effort hunting down the remaining members. Let's see what the reward is this time. With the achievement completed, Ethan was eager to check the rewards. Shadow Seal, a sealing technique from a certain world capable of storing energy. Due to differences with the host's power system, it has been systematically improved. Shadow Seal? Upon seeing the reward's name, Ethan thought of its origin. The introduction not only explained the Shadow Seal's effect but also noted its systematic improvement due to power system differences. Ethan pondered. If he guessed right, this Shadow Seal was likely from the Naruto world. Improved? I wonder what kind of improvement it is. Ethan was no stranger to systematic improvement. Like the Xianxian fruit, it had been improved, eliminating defects such as being restrained by the sea, and even its taste changed significantly. Although Ethan didn't know the specifics of the improved Shadow Seal, he was confident that any improvement by the system would be beneficial. The line fruit was the best example. Without hesitation, Ethan accepted the reward. Boom. A flood of information surged into Ethan's mind, and his nen involuntarily accelerated. The nen continuously converged at the center of his brow, forming a miniature vortex in a mysterious way, continuing until all potential energy was exhausted. Ho. Potential chi can be likened to external life energy. Although it can be restored like physical strength, its consumption is similar to physical exertion. As his potential energy depleted, Ethan collapsed onto the ground, nearly exhausted, breathing heavily as his chest heaved. Is this the improved Shadow Seal? His body was tired, but Ethan didn't complain. It had been a bit sudden. The previous series of movements were the system instilling Shadow Seal information into Ethan and simultaneously helping him complete its cultivation. The best evidence was the purple diamond-shaped mark now between Ethan's eyebrows. Chapter 89, In the Naruto World, the function of the Shadow Seal is to store chakra not used in everyday situations. The system's improvement has assimilated the Shadow Seal into the Hunter World system, transforming it into a technique that can store mental energy. Yes, it's a technique, not just nen. The information provided by the system assimilates the Shadow Seal into the Hunter system, making it a more advanced application of mind energy. Based on one's own potential energy, a micro-vortex is constructed between the eyebrows through a special method to store thought energy. This is the situation of the hunter-like Shadow Seal that Ethan summarized from the system's information. I can store 5 times the amount of thought energy. Ethan pondered silently. The hunter version of the Shadow Seal can store 5 times the amount of nen used to construct it, meaning it holds 5 times the body's potential nen capacity. In other words, if your potential mental energy is 10, the Shadow Seal can store 50 mental energy. Although it's not unlimited storage, having 5 times more potential energy is still a remarkably surprising reward. The most important aspect is that the Shadow Seal can be learned and cultivated by others. Ethan can certainly teach this technique to Lisa and Mia. Based on his analysis of the Shadow Seal, although the difficulty of learning this technique is not low, mastering the key skills with Lisa and Mia's talents means it's only a matter of time before they learn it. Once they master the Shadow Seal, the strength of the 2 women will naturally grow significantly. Just as Ethan used to share rewards with Lisa and Mia to help them grow. He's not a selfish person. Given the status of the 2 women in his heart, as he grows stronger, he will naturally try to elevate them to grow stronger alongside him. Shadow Seal? Stores 5 times the potential amount of energy? In the living room, Lisa and Mia both looked at Ethan with incredulous expressions. After using Ju to restore his mental energy, Ethan walked out of the training room. Not only did he explain to the 2 women waiting outside that the mission was completed, but he also discussed the reward of the Shadow Seal. There was no doubt that both Lisa and Mia were quite shocked, or rather, pleasantly surprised by the ability of the Shadow Seal. Of course, how could I joke about something like this? Ethan couldn't help but laugh at the 2 women's reactions. No, is what you just said true? Can this ability called the Shadow Seal really be obtained through practice? Lisa asked anxiously. Although Mia didn't speak, she looked at Ethan expectantly. The effect of the Shadow Seal is undeniably powerful and filled with temptation. Lisa and Mia actually always felt a lot of pressure. The main reason was that Ethan's growth rate was incredibly fast. In the past, Although Ethan was the strongest among the three, the gap wasn't significant. They could fight side by side against enemies. But now, facing opponents like Hisoka and Christina, both Lisa and Mia felt powerless, as if they couldn't truly assist Ethan. Thus, both women had a strong desire to become stronger. True. Ethan nodded, raising his finger to point at the purple diamond-shaped mark between his eyebrows and said, "The ability of the Shadow Seal is essentially a more advanced application of mind energy. You'll understand once I explain how to cultivate it. Tell us, we're all ears." Lisa and Mia said in unison, gazing at Ethan with eager eyes. Then I'll begin." Ethan looked at the two women speechlessly. Their reaction was a bit exaggerated, but it showed how eager they were for the Shadow Seal, so he didn't waste time and began explaining the cultivation method of the Shadow Seal. "I see, so that's how it's applied. It's really amazing. This technique requires a lot of control over mental energy. I need to work on improving my control over Nen." When Ethan finished explaining, both Lisa and Mia seemed enlightened and began actively discussing it. Ethan naturally joined in the discussion. Although his Shadow Seal was trained directly with the system's help, he gained complete mastery of it. Even if he practiced it again after lifting, he could easily accomplish it. Therefore, Ethan occasionally provided critical pointers to Lisa and Mia when they faced challenges or difficult problems, helping them understand the Shadow Seal cultivation method more easily. In the following days, Lisa and Mia began practicing the Shadow Seal. Ethan didn't have time to spare. After giving instructions, he also started storing unused Nen in the Shadow Seal. Of course, he didn't neglect physical exercise. The gravity ring had an excellent effect on physical training, far surpassing Ethan's previous methods. Combined with the feedback and nourishment of Nen, his body steadily grew stronger. Days passed, and after the incident at the Black Dragon Society, Ethan's life returned to its previous routine, practicing while waiting for the new competition day to arrive. "Is this the Sky Arena? It's so high." "Of course. Sky Arena is the fourth highest building criminal in the world." After taking the airship all the way, Gon and Killua arrived at the gate of the Sky Arena. Looking up at the Sky Arena, where the top was barely visible, Gon marveled, while Killua explained on the side. Although there were some changes during the Hunter exam, the storyline surrounding the protagonist group remained unchanged. Killua returned to the family under the threat of Illumai, and Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio also went to the Zoltik family. After a month of struggle, in the end, Killua successfully reached an agreement with his father and left the family. After Kurapika and Leorio parted ways, Gon and Killua came to the Sky Arena, preparing to use the environment to train themselves. Chapter 90. Hey, Killua, look, that looks like Ethan. Suddenly, Gon turned his eyes and was immediately captivated by the advertising screen on a building not far from the Sky Arena. He raised his finger in surprise. Killua quickly looked over after hearing this. Immediately, he saw the advertising screen that Gon was pointing to. There were two images of people on the left and right, with a versus symbol in the middle. At the same time, there was a countdown at the bottom of the screen, showing that there were still about 3 hours left. Is this an advertisement for a Sky Arena match? Killua was stunned. He had once spent 2 years in the Sky Arena to reach the 200th floor and lived there for 2 years. Naturally, he was familiar with some of the situations there. A match? So Ethan is also in the Sky Arena? Gon looked at Killua in surprise. Killua nodded. It should be no accident. Gon said with anticipation, "Killua, let's go watch Ethan's match." Didn't Kurapika say that Ethan knows Nen? Maybe the opponent will use it in this match. After the Hunter exam, on their way to the Zoltik family, Kurapika mentioned the ability of Nen to Gon and Leorio. After all, the three of them had passed the Hunter exam, and Kurapika learned from Ethan that after passing the exam, the Hunter Association would send someone to teach Nen, so there was no need to hide it. Regarding Nen, especially after knowing that Ethan and Hisoka both knew Nen, Gon and Leorio were naturally very curious and interested. When arriving by airship, Gon also told Killua about Nen. So after hearing Gon's proposal, Killua's eyes lit up. He was committed to getting rid of the shackles of his family, and Nen was a very powerful force in Gon's description, so he was naturally very eager. Okay, I happen to remember that you can watch the match for free in Sky Arena with a Hunter license. Really? That's great. The two of them came to the Sky Arena with the idea of making money. After learning that they could watch the match with a Hunter license, the cash-strapped duo became even more enthusiastic. Because they knew from the advertisement screen that the match would start in less than 3 hours, Gon and Killua quickly entered the Sky Arena and found the ticket office. Using Gon's Hunter license, the two successfully obtained tickets for the match. Is it a competition above the 200th floor? Yes, with that guy's strength, unless he's new here, he definitely wouldn't compete on a lower floor. Taking the elevator, Killua looked down at the ticket in his hand, and after seeing the floor where the match was to be held, he thought to himself. Because after reaching the 200th floor, he left the Sky Arena without participating in further matches. Killua only knew that the higher the floor, the higher the level of the match, but he did not know that above the 200th floor, battles involved none. There are two types of elevators in Sky Arena. One is used by the audience and the other is used by the fighters. After taking the audience elevator to the 200th floor, Gon and Killua naturally did not meet the fighters on the 200th floor but went to the competition venue with other spectators. Which side do you think will win this match? No, is there any suspense about this? Mr. Ethan is a fighter who has defeated the original host. Really? Of course. Oh, by the way, I remembered. You were on a business trip before, so you didn't know. Let me tell you. When Gon and Killua found their seats and sat down, the two spectators beside Gon were animatedly discussing, and their conversation immediately attracted Gon and Killua. Gon couldn't help but look at the two people beside him, while Killua looked surprised. Killua, what do they mean by host? Gon turned his head and looked at Killua for confirmation. He knew that Killua had been here, so he naturally asked Killua when he encountered something he didn't understand. If I remember correctly, the host should be a title for fighters above the 200th floor here. Killua thought for a while and said with some uncertainty. No, the original host is not that simple. Suddenly, a voice came from behind Gon and Killua. They turned quickly and saw that the speaker was a young man about the same age as them. Sitting next to this young man was a young man with glasses. Zusi, you can't be so rude. Yongu scolded his disciple Zusi, the boy who had just spoken, and then looked at Gon and Killua, who were sitting in front and turned to look. He said with an embarrassed look, I'm sorry, my disciple didn't mean to disturb you too. It's just that he's preparing to hone himself in the Sky Arena recently, so he's more concerned about the host you just mentioned. It's okay. Do you know what the host means? Killua looked at Yongu and Zusi and shook his head, while Gon started chatting with Zusi with interest. Of course, the host is. Zusi was a little nervous after being scolded by his teacher, but after seeing Gon's interest in the host, he immediately started a positive conversation and explained about the host. While Gon and the others were chatting, the match time approached. The venue was naturally packed. Welcome, everyone, to watch this competition. The two fighters appearing today are Ethan and Marlon. It is worth mentioning that Ethan has won 9 times, which means that if fighter Ethan wins this match again, he will have won 10 times and will be qualified to challenge the host. The lights were shining, and on the commentary stage, the commentator girl took the microphone and began to shout passionately. The atmosphere in the venue suddenly became lively, with cheers and shouts echoing from the audience. After some opening remarks, the fighters began to enter. Ethan walked out of one of the passages with a relaxed and calm expression. From another passage came a man dressed like a boxer, who was Ethan's opponent this time, a fighter named Marlon. Chapter 91. In the audience, when Gon and others saw the contestants entering, they immediately stopped talking and focused on the ring in the center. Gon and Killua's eyes naturally focused on Ethan. Are they about to start? I wonder how much strength he'll show in this match. Earlier, Gon and Killua had learned about the host's situation from Zusi. Although they still didn't know how powerful the host was, it didn't stop them from paying more attention to Ethan at this time. Players from both sides are in position. The referee came to the center of the ring. Ethan and his opponent stood on opposite sides of the ring. After taking his position, Ethan looked at his opponent in this match. The same was true for the player named Marlon. But compared to Ethan's calmness and composure, Marlon was much more nervous, his eyes full of vigilance and fear as he looked at Ethan. Such a reaction was normal. After all, Ethan's previous fight to the death with Christina had been a big deal, and Ethan, who defeated and killed Christina, certainly possessed the strength of a host, and was among the best. Damn, how could I meet such a terrifying opponent? Marlon cursed in his heart, his eyes locked on Ethan. Even though the match hadn't started yet, he couldn't afford any negligence, as even the slightest mistake could lead to danger. Attention both contestants, this match has officially begun. The referee raised his right hand high, and after signaling to Ethan and Marlon, he waved it down violently, announcing the start of the match, and quickly backed away. Understandably so. The referee who was in charge during Ethan and Christina's match was still lying in the hospital. Even though it was Christina who caused the serious injury, the referee now had to be cautious in this match involving Ethan. Ha! As soon as the match was announced, Marlon was like a taut spring, attacking immediately. With a loud shout, he punched the air with his right arm. In the roar of the fist wind, a basketball-sized N-bomb flew out of his fist like a cannonball, blasting towards Ethan's location at an alarming speed. So you want to play? The speed of the N-bomb fired by Marlon was fast, but Ethan hadn't reacted yet. When he saw the N-bomb coming towards him, Ethan raised his hand and flicked it with just one finger, and a sharp silk thread was stretched out like a sword. Slice. There was a tearing sound, and the sharp silk thread hit the bomb halfway, immediately splitting it into two with terrifying sharpness. However, unexpectedly, the Nen bomb split into two halves did not dissipate. Instead, it divided and exploded violently. Boom boom. Amidst the deafening roar, the two waves engulfed Ethan with inertia, immediately submerging him, causing the air to surge and gravel on the arena to fly. Good chance. Marlon was overjoyed. Originally, he would have chosen to avoid Ethan, but now that he saw his opponent swallowed up by the explosion, he was surprised and excited, promptly attacking furiously. Boom boom boom. Just like the bombs blasted before, every time Marlon punched, a ball of explosive power erupted, causing continuous violent explosions and completely engulfing the other side of the ring. Each explosion was like a grenade going off. Nearly half of the arena disappeared in the explosion, with gravel splashing out like bullets. Marlon was in a very excited mood now. He had originally thought that he would definitely lose this match, but now, with his attack taking effect, he saw hope of winning. What, this guy turns out to be nothing special. Even if he defeated the host, so what, now he's been caught by my Nen bomb. The attack ended after Marlon blasted dozens of Nen bombs in one breath. Although the rapid consumption of Nen made Marlon gasp for breath, there was no fatigue on his face but a radiant spirit. The violent explosion stirred up large amounts of dust, which finally dispersed after the attack stopped, revealing a dilapidated arena. More than half of the arena had been turned into ruins, full of potholes, and Ethan was nowhere to be seen. Even the body was blown away. Marlon didn't see Ethan's figure and subconsciously thought that his opponent didn't even have a body left after his Nen bombs. Thud. Just when Marlon thought he had won and was smiling, suddenly, a sharp pain came from his chest, making him freeze immediately. Looking down absently, Marlon saw an arm that penetrated his chest, stained with his blood. The exploding Nen bombs are very interesting, but the fluctuations of the Nen that make up the bombs are too obvious. A faint voice came from behind. It was Ethan. Ethan, who should have been swallowed up by the explosion, appeared behind Marlon at some point. Not only did he not have any scars from the explosion, but he also penetrated his opponent's back with a sharp hand strike until it went through the opponent's chest. Ethan's face was calm. The opponent's Nen bomb was indeed very powerful, but his insight was so sharp that at the moment of the explosion, he moved his position at a ghostly speed. And when his opponent's attention was completely focused on the attack, he quietly moved behind him. After he finished speaking, Ethan didn't wait for the opponent's reaction, pulled out his arm, and took a few steps back. Thud. Blood spurted from his chest. Marlon's body shook for a moment before he knelt on the ground weakly, and then he collapsed onto the ring. Beneath him, a pool of blood quickly spread, and he quickly died. This time the match was not like the last one where he was acting to lure Christina. Ethan could easily handle opponents like Marlon. Nen energy flowed on his arm. Ethan swung his arm casually, and immediately, all the blood stained on it was flung to the ring at his feet by the shock of the Nen energy. A strange blood stain formed. Chapter 92, Let's cheer for player Ethan. He has successfully achieved his 10th victory and also qualified to challenge the host. At the end of the match, when Ethan eliminated Marlon, the commentator shouted excitedly, causing the entire venue to erupt into enthusiastic cheers. However, Ethan was long accustomed to such cheers. He turned around with a relaxed posture and walked down from the ring, exiting through the passage where he had entered. In the audience, Gon and Killua watched Ethan leave in a daze. Killua, was the white airball that Ethan's opponent used just now Nen? I think it should be. Otherwise, why attack like that? Gon was a little excited and couldn't help turning to look at Killua. Killua nodded hesitantly after hearing Gon's question. Although this match ended quickly, the fighting situation left a strong impression on both of them. Nen bombs are attacks that can be seen with the naked eye. Such attacks naturally made Gon and Killua immediately think of Nen. It was less surprising for Killua, having watched the battle between Ethan and Hisoka in secret. But still, he hadn't expected that besides Ethan, his opponent would also be a Nen user. The opponent is a player on the 200th floor. If he really is a Nen user, does that mean many players on the 200th floor are Nen users? Killua couldn't help but ponder this possibility. Killua's heart tightened at the thought. He and Gon were preparing to hone their skills in the Sky Arena next. If they entered the 200th floor, they might encounter opponents who use Nen. Not to mention what Gon and Killua were thinking. After walking out of the competition venue, Ethan returned to the players' waiting area and immediately saw a woman in a Sky Arena uniform waiting for him. Congratulations, Mr. Ethan. I'm Cheryl, and I'm here to discuss the host challenge with you on behalf of the Sky Arena. The woman named Cheryl was very attractive and had a good figure. Judging by her appearance, she was only 27 or 28 years old, with 2 large golden earrings. She exuded the charm of a mature woman. Naturally, Cheryl was very enthusiastic in her attitude toward Ethan. As soon as she saw Ethan returning, she immediately greeted him with a warm smile. "Hello." Ethan looked at her, and when she extended her hand, he smiled and shook it. Suddenly, Ethan's intuition kicked in. He noticed a slight scratch on his palm during the handshake. He looked at her and saw her eyes meeting his with a suggestive, tempting gaze. However, Ethan's composure remained unshaken, and he withdrew his hand as usual. Seeing Ethan's calm reaction, Cheryl wasn't disappointed. She continued to smile and said, "Mr. Ethan, you've completed 10 victories and are now qualified to challenge the host. I need to know if you intend to proceed with the challenge." "Of course. In fact, I was planning to apply for it later." Ethan nodded slightly. Challenging the host was inevitable, otherwise, how would he achieve the rewards? "That's great. Do you want us to help you with the match selection, or do you have a specific target in mind?" Cheryl asked. There are 2 ways to challenge the host, which is what Cheryl was referring to. One is to independently choose a target to challenge, and the other is to be randomly matched in the Sky Arena. "Please arrange it for me," Ethan said casually. He had no specific challenge in mind. Including the 3 core members of the original Black Dragon Society, with the achievements of the Black Dragon Society completed, he had no intention of continuing to target those individuals. The most important aspect is that whether it is an active selection or passive allocation, the host challenge has a 1-month deadline. This 1-month deadline not only allows the challenged hosts to have ample time to prepare but also gives the Sky Arena enough time for promotion. The host challenge is not comparable to an ordinary competition. It's secondary to attracting audiences, it's mainly a charity gambling that allows more people to participate. It would take a month, so Ethan naturally didn't care about which method was used. "Okay, I'll make the arrangements for you as soon as I return. Additionally, this is my business card. If you need anything, feel free to contact me at any time. I'm available for full-day services." Cheryl handed Ethan a business card with a delicate fragrance and said with a hint of meaning, "All right, I'll reach out if necessary." Ethan took the business card casually and left without lingering. This wasn't the first time he'd encountered temptation like Cheryl's. But unfortunately, not all women catch his eye. Taking the elevator, Ethan prepared to leave the Sky Arena. With the affairs of the Black Dragon Society resolved, Ethan, Lisa, and Mia naturally returned to live at the martial arts hall. Compared to the suites in the Sky Arena, it was more convenient to train at the martial arts hall. But just when Ethan took the elevator to the first floor and was about to leave, he suddenly heard someone calling his name. "Wait, Ethan." Ethan stopped and turned around to see where his name was being called from, and then he saw Gon and Killua trotting over. After the match, Gon and Killua had naturally left the venue, and in the lobby on the first floor, they were about to sign up for a match when they spotted Ethan, and Gon took the initiative to call out to him. Ethan was slightly surprised to see Gon and Killua, but not entirely. After all, the 2 of them had come to the Sky Arena in the original storyline. "What's up?" In the final scene of the Hunter exam, Ethan realized his conclusion that he and Gon were not compatible and gave up the idea of forming a friendship. So when the 2 of them ran over, his attitude was quite cold. Chapter 93, "It's okay, I just wanted to say hello to you. Killua and I are also going to compete in the Sky Arena," Gon said, scratching his head. Killua said nothing but looked at Ethan thoughtfully. He was much more perceptive than Gon, so he naturally noticed Ethan's attitude was very cold, and this coldness seemed directed at his close friend. "Oh, if that's all, I'll be going." Ethan had no interest in continuing the conversation, waved his hand, and turned around to leave. "Killua, why do I feel like Ethan hates me?" Seeing Ethan disappearing into the crowd, Gon couldn't help but turn to look at his friend. I don't know about that, but we're not familiar with each other. If you go up to say hello rashly, it's not surprising that someone might react this way." Killua shrugged. "Okay, then let's sign up." Gon didn't think deeply, and his attention quickly shifted. With a bit of excitement, he and Killua continued to the registration office. Because it was an ordinary match, Lisa and Mia, who were practicing the Shadow Seal diligently and with intense focus, did not attend Ethan's match. Similarly, when Ethan returned to the martial arts gym, the 2 women were still practicing hard. Ethan didn't bother them. When he came back, he simply immersed himself in the practice room and began his own training. Thanks to the excellent effect of the gravity ring, and the greatly enhanced mental energy that nourishes the body better, his physical training was progressing very smoothly. In just over a month since he started practicing, his strength had increased from nearly 20 tons to 25 tons. Compared with his previous growth rate, this progress was absolutely remarkable, fueling Ethan's enthusiasm and dedication. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. While Ethan was practicing and waiting for the host challenge to come, Gon and Killua fought their way through the sky arena and reached the 200th floor. But it was different from the original storyline. Hisoka's hands and feet were amputated by Ethan during the Hunter exam, and he still hadn't appeared to seek treatment, so he didn't come to the sky arena. Thus, Gon and Killua successfully checked in on the 200th floor. Of course, the teaching of Nen still occurred. While watching Ethan's match, Gon and Killua met Wing in advance, who was actually the teacher appointed by the Hunter Association to teach Gon Nen. Therefore, after Gon and Killua reached the 200th level, Wing began to teach them Nen. Is this Nen? In the house where Wing lived, Gon and Killua were forced to open their aura nodes by Wing, and the energy in their bodies burst out. Gon and Killua were shocked to see the cold air coming out of their bodies like steam. Yes, this is Nen. Now that your aura nodes have been opened by me, you must find a way to control the Nen flowing from your body and imagine that it's your own blood flowing on the body surface. Wing instructed. Forcing aura nodes to open is actually very dangerous. If you are unable to control the outflowing Nen, it means that your life energy is constantly being lost. If this happens for a long time, it could even threaten your life. Wing originally planned to slowly let Gon and Killua awaken their spiritual energy, just like he taught Zusi. But Gon and Killua insisted on choosing the faster method after learning that aura nodes could be forcibly opened to learn Nen more quickly. Hearing Wing's words, Gon and Killua both reacted from shock, then closed their eyes and began to control the energy flowing from their bodies. Unsurprisingly, both of them were able to control Nen very well in a short period of time, and they naturally used Ten. The talents of these two children are truly amazing. Wing couldn't help but marvel when he saw Gon and Killua controlling their mental energy so quickly and forming Ten. Not to mention forcibly opening aura nodes, but to control the mental energy to form a Ten. If it were an ordinary person, it would take a few days to master it. And now, Gon and Killua almost naturally grasped it with their extreme talents before Wing had even finished explaining it. This kind of talent was something Wing had never seen before, and it made him feel like he had discovered a treasure. Eyes slowly opened. Gon and Killua both raised their hands and looked at the energy wrapped around their bodies. Master Wing, have we learned it now? Gon looked at Wing with eager eyes. The same went for Killua. Learning Nen made him very excited, as if it opened a new world he had never thought of before. It's still early. Not to mention the development of Nen, even the application of Nen, you are just getting started. Wing said with a smile. The talents of the two truly amazed him, but learning Nen isn't that easy. Then I wonder how long it will take for us to practice to reach Ethan's level? Killua couldn't help but ask a very crucial question. Both Gon and Killua had experienced fighting against Ethan. Coupled with the previous matches they watched, the two of them had a better understanding of Nen, and they unconsciously used Ethan as a benchmark. Ethan? Then you'll need to practice for a long time. He is definitely one of the best in the field of Nen. I must admit even I am in awe of him. If you practice hard enough in the future, I estimate it will take you at least 5 years, or at most 10 years, to reach his level. Wing thought for a while and said. This estimation was because Gon and Killua were extremely talented. Otherwise, if it were others, such as Zusi, Wing wouldn't dare to say they could reach Ethan's level. Does it take that long? Gon felt a little discouraged, with a disappointed expression on his face. Killua's heart sank as well, and his expression didn't look very good. Wing couldn't help but feel speechless when he saw their reactions. Chapter 94, I wonder if you two are too confident in yourselves. Instead of thinking about unrealistic things, it's better to focus on strict practice in the future. You must remember that you've now entered the 200th floor, and the opponents you encounter are all Nen users. If you don't have enough control over Nen, your life could be in danger. Wing scolded them with a very serious expression. Having excellent talent is indeed a good thing, but being too ambitious can turn it into a bad thing. Wing naturally didn't want Gon and Killua to become reckless, and he decided in his heart to train them strictly to prevent them from taking the wrong path. Just like his attitude toward Gon, Ethan didn't pay attention to the situation of Gon and Killua in the sky arena, focusing entirely on his training instead. Of course, he would occasionally go out with Lisa and Mia to relax. After all, people aren't machines, they still need to adjust themselves appropriately. On such days, the time for the host challenge arrived unknowingly. Facing a major competition like the host challenge, after a month of publicity in the sky arena, it naturally attracted countless people to watch. Especially in the charity gambling. The accumulated amount had reached astronomical figures. This time, the host challenge is unlike before. I heard the challenger has defeated a host before. This match will definitely be very exciting. The odds this time are interesting. In the past, the odds for challengers were higher. Why are the odds for the host higher this time? Hurry and get ready, the match is about to start. The spacious venue was filled with all kinds of people. While waiting for the match to start, you could constantly see familiar or unfamiliar people chatting enthusiastically. This included Gon, Killua, Wing, Zusi, and his team. I heard that Ethan defeated the host before, but I don't know what kind of strength Ethan is using to challenge the host now. He must be very powerful, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to become a host. I wonder when I'll win 10 matches and be qualified to challenge the host. As long as you train strictly according to the practice plan I've prepared for you, you'll get there sooner or later. After finding their seats and sitting down, Gon and his group looked expectantly towards the central arena while chatting more and more enthusiastically. Huh? Not far from Gon and his group, Lisa, who had just sat down, casually glanced around and happened to see Gon and Killua sitting together and chatting. She couldn't help but let out a quiet exclamation in surprise. Because Ethan had no intention of making friends, he never mentioned meeting Gon and Killua to Lisa. Now that Lisa suddenly saw Gon and Killua, she was naturally surprised. What's wrong? Do you know these people? Mia, who was sitting next to Lisa, was also curious and looked at Gon and his group. The kid with the spiky hair and the white hair were candidates who took the hunter exam together with Ethan. I didn't expect the two of them to be here. Lisa explained briefly. They're taking the hunter exam at such a young age? Mia was a little surprised. Yes, not only did he participate, but the kid with the spiky hair also passed the exam. The backgrounds of these two kids are not simple. Thinking that the origins of Gon and Killua were not simple, Lisa explained to Mia and also mentioned Ethan's attitude toward Gon. I see. Mia was thoughtful after listening and then stopped paying attention to these matters, focusing instead on the upcoming match with Lisa. Knowing Ethan's attitude, she naturally followed his lead. In the arena at the center of the venue. When the time for the match arrived, the commentator announced the players' entrance with high spirits. Ethan, who had been waiting at the entrance, naturally strode out. Ethan. Ah. Master Ethan appears. Must win, must win, must win. When Ethan appeared, the venue burst into loud cheers without any suspense. Compared to when he first returned to the Sky Arena, Ethan's reputation was obviously greater now. Many people who came to watch the match did so because of him. Of course, at the entrance on the other side, when someone else walked out, they were also greeted with loud cheers. It's Lord Mandel. Mandel will win. I must win. I have put all my wealth on you, Mandel. Come on, Mandel. This host challenge was different from previous ones. In previous host challenges, the challenger was the one with the lowest odds. But because Ethan had a record of defeating Christina, the host named Mandel now had higher odds than the challenger Ethan. This naturally caused many people who wanted to bet on an upset to place their bets on Mandel. As he walked toward the ring, Ethan turned his head and looked at the entrance on the other side. What caught his eye was a very burly man with a bare upper body and a pair of white pants. With hair as thick as steel needles and a naked upper body, not only could you see strong muscles, but you could also see many scars. Mandel, the host of the 235th floor of Sky Arena. When Ethan looked at Mandel, information about him also flashed in his mind. After a month of publicity, it was naturally impossible for Ethan not to gather intelligence about his opponent. Similarly, he also believed that the other party must have gathered information about him. Come on, as long as you win this match, you can get rewards again. There was no change on his face. Ethan controlled his emotions very well. He just glanced casually and then looked away. And just when he withdrew his gaze, Mandel on the other side seemed to sense Ethan's gaze, turning his head to glance at Ethan, with deep vigilance in his eyes. Chapter 95, amid continued cheers, Ethan and Mandel stepped onto opposite sides of the ring, facing off with the referee standing in the center. Attention both players. The referee glanced at Ethan and Mandel, and when he saw that they were ready, he waved. As the competition was about to begin, the venue gradually became quiet. Everyone focused intently on the two competitors in the ring, eagerly awaiting the upcoming battle. I declare that this match has officially begun. The referee wasted no time. After completing the necessary rules narration, he immediately waved down and announced the start of the match, quickly stepping aside to give the field to both fighters. Bullet thread. Ethan fixed his eyes on Mandel across the ring and took action as soon as the match was announced. He raised his hand, simulating a point, and shot out sharp bullet-like threads in an instant. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Amidst the dense sound of breaking through the air, the bullet threads appeared in front of Mandel in the blink of an eye. Whether it was because he had no time to dodge or for another reason, Mandel crossed his arms in front of him and resisted head-on. Bang bang bang. The projectiles hit Mandel one after another, not only on his blocking arms but also on other parts of his body. However, in the fierce attack, Mandel simply swayed his body and completely blocked the attack of the bullet threads, without any injuries on his body. Whoosh. After blocking the bullet threads, Mandel cast his sharp eyes toward Ethan through the gap between his arms, and suddenly he was like a tiger out of a cage, quickly charging toward Ethan. The distance between the two closed rapidly. Mandel roared angrily, sprinted forward, and aimed a punch at Ethan's face. Bang! Ethan narrowed his eyes slightly, but instead of evading, he struck out with lightning speed, using his left hand to form a palm, blocking the opponent's fist with one palm. The fists collided, and the surrounding air seemed to explode and spread. Ethan immediately felt the powerful force coming from his palm, enough to crush the stone slabs of the arena beneath his feet. If this had been before taking the hunter exam, such a punch would have been enough to send him flying and cause serious damage to his arm. But it's different now. His arm slightly bent to block the opponent's attack. The palm that was blocking the fist shifted to a grasp. Ethan grabbed Mandel's fist, quickly twisted his waist, and spun to throw Mandel to the ground. Mandel's face changed slightly, and he wanted to resist Ethan's power, but he was unable to. His feet left the ground as he was violently swung by Ethan in a circle before being slammed to the ground. Boom! The body hit the ring, and a violent impact immediately caused the solid ring to collapse, forming a pit several meters in diameter. Ha! In the pit, Mandel seemed completely unaffected by the violent impact. He freed his fist from Ethan's palm and quickly jumped out of the pit, landing several meters away. Such an attack has no effect. Ethan looked thoughtfully at Mandel, who appeared a little embarrassed but had no obvious injuries on his body. Aha! As soon as he landed and stabilized himself, Mandel attacked again. He charged over the pit and came close to Ethan, launching a fierce whip kick attack. This time, Ethan didn't choose to resist. Instead, after keenly understanding the opponent's attack, he turned sideways to avoid it, and then also aimed a whip kick at Mandel's head. Same attack, but different results. Ethan was able to discern and dodge Mandel's attacks, but Mandel obviously did not have Ethan's insight and reaction speed. Bang! The whip leg landed firmly on Mandel's face, and the strong force immediately kicked him away. However, after flying a certain distance, Mandel quickly rotated to alleviate the impact and then landed on the ground vigorously. Ethan's whip kick used flow, and the power that exploded was absolutely formidable. But what was surprising was that although Mandel was kicked away, there was no trace of damage on the face where he was kicked, as if his defense was far superior to Ethan's attack. Without any hesitation, Mandel immediately rushed toward Ethan again as if he didn't tire. As he approached, he suddenly jumped up and aimed a punch at Ethan's head. With flexible steps, Ethan dodged like a phantom. Boom! Mandel's fist hit the ground where Ethan had been, and an extremely powerful force burst from the fist, immediately smashing a huge pit into the ring. The astonishing attack shook the entire arena, and spiderweb-like cracks spread out around the pit. Sure enough, the attack I just made was absorbed and transformed again. After landing, Ethan was not surprised when he saw the astonishing damage caused by the opponent, but a spark of understanding flashed in his eyes. Compared with the attack he blocked just now, the attack unleashed by Mandel this time was obviously more powerful. If you didn't know better, you might think Mandel had hidden his power in previous attacks. But for Ethan, who had gathered intelligence about his opponent, he naturally knew what was going on. Absorption and transformation. This was Mandel's Nin ability. According to the information Ethan collected, Mandel's Nin could absorb other people's attacks and then transform them to enhance his own attack power. The reason why Mandel's current attack was stronger than the previous one. It's because Ethan's whip kick attack was more powerful than the previous bullet threads. Therefore, after Mandel absorbed and transformed it, there was naturally a difference in the enhanced attack power. The reason why Ethan did not directly fight back after blocking Mandel's attack was that he resorted to grabbing and smashing instead. In fact, it was an attempt. He wanted to see if the attack caused by Mandel's impact, not his own direct attack, could bypass the absorption effect. But judging from the situation, even an indirect attack had no effect. Otherwise, with the smash just now, Mandel would have been injured. Chapter 96. After Mandel punched his way out of the pit, he assumed a defensive stance toward Ethan, refraining from attacking again. Ethan saw Mandel's actions and easily deduced his intentions. "Why, don't you think I didn't gather information about you before the match, Mr. Mandel?" Ethan casually waved his hand to disperse the dust. He did not attack either but looked at Mandel with a playful expression. Mandel was taken aback but soon sneered. "I see, but what's the use of knowing my information? Unless you never fight back, your counterattack will only make my attack stronger." "Really, but I never think that any Nin is invincible. Nin that can absorb other people's attacks is indeed very powerful, but I think this absorption will definitely not be unlimited, which means it must have a certain upper limit," Ethan stated calmly as he stared at Mandel. "Then give it a try." Mandel showed a ferocious smile, shouted loudly, and immediately abandoned his defensive stance, charging fiercely at Ethan. Zing! Ethan waved his hand, and sharp threads flew out, forming a crisscross pattern, instantly cutting into the charging Mandel. The attack power contained in the sharp threads was absorbed upon contact with Mandel's body, but it successfully halted his advance. At that moment, Ethan's figure blurred, and his entire form became indistinct. The art of war is as difficult to know as darkness. A palm with sharp nails appeared behind Mandel, concentrating intense energy as it struck fiercely at the back of Mandel's neck. Boom. The owner of the palm was Ethan. He had quietly moved behind Mandel at a speed that left an afterimage and then unleashed a terrifying attack with his palm, reinforced by Ko to amplify its structure. The sharp and powerful hand strike hit, and with one blow, Mandel's neck snapped back, sending him flying forward. However, it was evident that there was no damage on the back of his neck where he was attacked, showing that Ethan's attack had been absorbed. Whoosh! Again, Ethan's figure blurred. Like a ghost, Ethan suddenly appeared in front of Mandel before he could stop himself. Boom! The whip leg swept across, and with tyrannical force, Ethan struck Mandel in the abdomen as he flew past. The two completely opposite forces immediately formed a more powerful impact, which contorted Mandel's expression and forced a cry from his mouth. Ah! Mandel's Nen could indeed absorb other people's attacks and convert them into his own? But this absorption and transformation didn't mean that when he withstood attacks from others, it had no effect at all. For instance, the sensation of pain remained. To be more precise, retaining the sense of pain was a restriction and vow he specified for developing his Nen. The more powerful a Nen ability is, the more difficult it will be to develop, let alone improve in the future. Therefore, many wise people often choose to use restrictions and vows to seek shortcuts. Although Mandel had trained his pain tolerance because of his Nen, there were limits. For example, the pain caused by Ethan was beyond his ability to bear, causing Mandel to scream. But this was just the beginning. The ferocious whip kick not only caused intense pain to Mandel but also kicked his body back like a cannonball. The figure flashed and moved. Ethan appeared one step ahead in the direction of Mandel's flight, striking him back again with a heavy elbow blow. Boom boom boom. Move and attack. In the ring, Mandel was like a sandbag, constantly being blasted back and forth by Ethan's swift movements. Not only did he scream repeatedly, but Mandel didn't even have a chance to fight back. Similarly, the attacks from Ethan were constantly being absorbed by Mandel's Nen. However, without the opportunity to transform and release, the absorbed attacks could only accumulate and rise until they reached a certain critical point. Ah! As Ethan said before, no Nen can be truly invincible. Just as Mandel's tolerance for pain has a limit, the attacks he can absorb also have an upper limit. When this upper limit is exceeded, the accumulated attacks become a double-edged sword. I don't know how many attacks he endured. After being violently blasted away by Ethan again with a hard punch, Mandel suddenly flew out as if he had been stimulated, and his screams sharply increased. Boom! Like a human bomb, the shrill screams suddenly stopped, and Mandel exploded into a sky full of flesh and blood. Red blood and tiny pieces of flesh splattered across half of the arena, making the whole scene look extremely terrifying and bloody. Ah! Many people in the audience were shocked by this scene and screamed. But at the same time, some people stood up excitedly and cheered loudly. Win! Ha ha ha! Great, I finally won the bet this time. Ethan will win, Ethan will win. The cheers naturally came from those supporting Ethan. Lisa and Mia, who were paying close attention to the battle, were also overjoyed and waved their hands happily, cheering for Ethan. It's over. He really won the match. So strong, the opponent is no match for Ethan. Killua and Garm sighed in their hearts, and at the same time, looked at Ethan on the ring with eager eyes. Only after they truly became non-users could they see more things. For example, every attack by Ethan contained amazing Nen energy. Moreover, the use of Nen was so superb that it was overwhelming. Let us cheer for Ethan's successful promotion to the new host. The high-pitched voice of the commentator echoed throughout the venue, bringing the competition to an end. On the ring, Ethan, enjoying the cheers, waved casually, then turned and left the venue. Chapter 97, Mr. Ethan, congratulations on becoming the host of our Sky Arena. This is a badge that represents the host's identity. Thanks. When a new host is crowned, the Sky Arena naturally takes the opportunity to promote it well. In a conference room of Sky Arena, many reporters gathered together. Under the light of the cameras, the Sky Arena, represented by Cheryl, enthusiastically shook hands with Ethan and handed over the badge certificate representing the host to Ethan. Ding dong, congratulations on quickly completing the host achievement and receiving rewards, weapon fruit, dragon elephant body tempering pill, and great fire extinguishing. As the host's authentication was officially granted, the system's notification tone immediately sounded in Ethan's mind. Is the achievement complete? Ethan felt a surge of exhilaration, but because there were still matters to handle, he resisted the urge to check it in detail. Becoming a host not only brings fame but also many hidden benefits. This is part of Sky Arena's strategy to attract more participants in the competition. Otherwise, reputation alone wouldn't be enough to develop the Sky Arena into the fighting mecca it is today. These implicit benefits include a share of Sky Arena's revenue from ticket sales and betting. Although this share ratio isn't high, the base is large enough, so as long as you remain the host, you won't have to worry about money and can easily become wealthy. After a lot of busy work, it took half a day before Ethan left the Sky Arena. Naturally, Lisa and Mia accompanied him. They didn't leave after the game but waited outside for Ethan to come out. Is this the host's badge? After returning to the martial arts gym, the three of them went to the living room of their home and sat down. Mia admired the host badge in her hands with great fondness. The people who establish a martial arts gym here are often eager to earn a host badge. Mia's father was like this. Now that Ethan has obtained a host badge, it is equivalent to fulfilling her father's last wish, so Mia naturally values it greatly. What reward did you get this time? Lisa was more curious about the rewards than Mia. After becoming the host, Ethan had mentioned to the two women that this was a task issued by his nin. So now that he has become the host, Lisa knew there would be rewards. Don't worry, let me check it out. Ethan smiled, and then began to carefully review the rewards obtained this time. Weapon fruit, a Paramsha-type devil fruit from a certain world. After being consumed, it allows the user to transform into various weapons freely. After system enhancement, defects have been eliminated, and it is in a perfect state. Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill, a body tempering treasure pill from a certain world. Taking it grants 1,000 years of experience. Great Fire Extinguishing, a ninjutsu from a certain world, which through special seals, can produce massive waves of fire. After system enhancement, it has been assimilated into the host's power system. Like the previously completed main achievements, becoming the host also provided 3 types of rewards this time. Weapon Fruit, and Great Fire Extinguishing. Ethan pondered. Of course, the Dragon Elephant Body Tempering Pill needed no further explanation. He had already experienced it, and it was definitely a treasure that could enhance the body. Therefore, Ethan's attention was focused on the newly appeared Weapon Fruit and Great Fire Extinguishing. Especially the Weapon Fruit. After thinking about it, Ethan retrieved the Weapon Fruit. When it appeared in the storage space, he took it out directly and held it in his hand. Seeing a fruit with a strange pattern suddenly appear in Ethan's hand, both Lisa and Mia couldn't help but look at it. What kind of fruit is this? Is this the reward this time? Mia and Lisa asked curiously. This is one of the rewards, called the Weapon Fruit. After eating it, Ethan briefly described the effect of the Weapon Fruit. Then he looked at the two women and said, I need to use the other 2 rewards myself, so I can only offer you this reward. You two can decide who uses it. Ethan intended to help the 2 women grow together, but not to an excessive degree. After all, he himself also needed to use the system's rewards to make himself stronger. He already had the string fruit. Although the system's enhancements would not affect the consumption of a second devil fruit. However, since the string fruit hadn't been developed to its fullest potential, and he needed to manage his resources carefully, he decided the weapon fruit would be more suitable for the 2 women. Lisa and Mia were naturally not dissatisfied with Ethan keeping the other 2 rewards. The reward came from Ethan. No matter how it was distributed, it all depended on Ethan. On this point, the 2 women certainly wouldn't make any mistakes. Given the effect of this fruit, then let's give it to Lisa. She is more suited to it than I am. After learning about the effect of the weapon fruit, Mia didn't hesitate and immediately handed the weapon fruit to Lisa. Indeed, the weapon fruit matched Lisa's nun abilities quite well. Her fatal bullet, to enhance the power of the nun bullet, had restrictions and oaths that required weapons to be used. Moreover, her nun's foundation was telekinesis, so it didn't have to be a physical weapon, but simply a physical firearm. After eating the weapon fruit, Lisa could transform her body into various weapons. This ability was absolutely perfect when paired with her fatal bullet. Then I'm not going to be shy. Much like Ethan had directly stated that there were 3 types of rewards without hiding it, with the close relationship between the 3 of them, there was no need for any false politeness. Lisa happily accepted the weapon fruit from Ethan and began eating it. It tastes good. Like the string fruit, the taste of the improved weapon fruit also experienced extreme changes, which made Lisa praise it. Of course, the most important thing was the ability gained after eating the weapon fruit. After consuming the weapon fruit, Lisa had a thoughtful look on her face, then looked down at her right hand. I don't know if those who are critical are simply following others' opinions or deliberately causing trouble. But it should be addressed with moderation. At least express an opinion after reading. Don't speak without even looking at it or considering it. Chapter 98, Whoosh. In an instant, Lisa's right hand transformed. In the blink of an eye, her palm turned into a black pistol with a metallic texture. Her hand turned into a gun. Nearby, Mia's eyes widened slightly, surprise etched on her pretty face. Although she already knew the power of the weapon fruit, it was still incredible to witness it firsthand. Especially since Mia knew Lisa's nin, the transformation of the palm was definitely not caused by nin but from the weapon fruit she had just consumed. Not bad. You've mastered the power of the weapon fruit right away. I thought it would take you some time to adapt, Ethan said with a smile. Indeed. Lisa raised the pistol that her right hand had transformed into. She examined it with satisfaction for a while before reverting it to its original state. At the same time, she explained, this weapon fruit is truly magical. After I ate it, it felt as if I gained a new instinct. I have a basic understanding of this ability. For instance, if I want to transform into a weapon, I must have enough knowledge and understanding of the weapon, rather than simply thinking about it and transforming into it. Is that so? I didn't expect that. Ethan nodded slightly. Although he had experience with the string fruit and the weapon fruit were two different forms of Parimsha-type devil fruits. The string fruit is a creation-type ability, while the weapon fruit is a body-modifying supernatural ability. There are naturally differences in the application and development of different types of abilities. Thinking of the black pistol that Lisa's right hand had turned into just now, it wasn't exactly the same as the black gun in her black and white gun set. It's clear that it was precisely because of Lisa's knowledge and understanding of the black gun that she could activate the weapon fruit to transform her palm into the weapon she desired. But this also shows that the weapon fruit is indeed very suitable for Lisa. Before she became an user, she was skilled in firearms attacks and was definitely very familiar with firearms. Mia, I'll make sure to let you know when there are rewards next time, Ethan assured Mia after confirming Lisa's situation. With Lisa obtaining the weapon fruit, her strength would undoubtedly increase rapidly. Ethan naturally wanted to ensure Mia's feelings were considered. Then I'll just wait, Mia said with a smile. It was evident that she maintained a positive attitude and was not upset about not receiving a reward. Of course, this was also because she believed that Ethan would not treat her unfairly. Being able to offer such a precious item as the weapon fruit, if there were one suitable for her, she trusted that Ethan would certainly not forget her. After obtaining the weapon fruit, Lisa naturally studied it with great interest. Mia continued to practice the shadow seal. After this period of practice, she and Lisa had mastered nearly half of the shadow seal. As long as they completed the last half, they could complete the construction of the shadow seal. With the two women busy practicing, Ethan naturally accepted the remaining two rewards. The dragon elephant body tempering pill was still the same as when he took it before. It immediately greatly improved Ethan's body and increased his strength by 15 tons. Coupled with his month of practice, his body had already charged towards 50 tons of power. If Ethan was satisfied with the physical enhancement from the dragon elephant body tempering pill, then the final reward, the great fire extinguishing, gave him a feeling of surprise. In a deserted land outside the city, fire release, great fire annihilation. Standing in the open space, Ethan quickly formed a hand seal with his hands, took a deep breath, and unleashed a torrent of hot flames from his mouth. Boom! The violent flames danced wildly, growing from small to large, quickly forming a monstrous wave of fire that spanned dozens of meters and reached nearly 20 meters high, sweeping out nearly 100 meters away. The billowing heat wave radiated and spread, and the astonishing high temperature turned the surrounding air into a burning, distorted blur. After the flames erupted for several breaths, Ethan stopped the output of his nin energy and then looked at the destruction caused by the fire waves with burning eyes. The land in front of Ethan had turned into scorched earth, and the smell of burning permeated the air. There is no doubt that the Great Fire Annihilation is a large-scale attack. But more important than the power displayed is the improvement of the system. Just like when Ethan casts it, he consumes nin energy instead of chakra. In the system's improvement, the Great Fire Annihilation has become the hunter version of the fire technique, or conjurer's nin. Indeed. Different from the shadow seal, the Great Fire Annihilation became nin after being assimilated into the nin energy system. Are you using 100% conjurer? Ethan was feeling a little excited now. Because after the Great Fire Annihilation was assimilated into conjurer's nin, Ethan was able to perform this move. The power of this move was not weakened due to different types. Simply put, after the system integrates the Great Fire Annihilation into Ethan's body, it is equivalent to allowing him to perform this move. The original single enhancement type user has become a dual type user with both enhancement and conjurer abilities. Even if this conjurer ability is only limited to the Great Fire Annihilation, it is still very impressive. A situation like this is entirely due to natural talent and cannot be achieved through practice at all. Ethan can now exert 100% of the conjurer's power, which would definitely be enough to make others envious if they found out. Changing nin energy into flames. Since the Great Fire Annihilation has become nin, then perhaps we can also carry out derivative development. After calming his turbulent emotions, thoughts flashed through Ethan's mind. After thinking for a while, he decided to try it. Making the seal with his hands again. This seal has now become similar to a restriction and an oath, which is equivalent to a prerequisite for Ethan to obtain 100% performance of Conjurer. Of course, the relative effort is just a seal, so naturally, it is not worth mentioning at all. An energy gathered in his throat, and Ethan spurted out majestic flames again. A huge wave of fire swept out, but unlike before, Ethan began to control it consciously. As the flames erupted, they were quickly restrained, narrowing the scope of the flames, and then stopped suddenly. Chapter 99, Boom. The pause was only for a brief moment. The next second, Ethan's eyes flashed, and scorching flames erupted again. Only this time it was not a huge wave of fire but a massive fireball several meters in diameter. The fireball shot out fiercely like a cannonball, flying dozens of meters away before exploding and disappearing, burning the ground along the way and creating a long charred black ravine. Launching fireballs, this attack form is reminiscent of the fire release move from the same origin as the Great Fire Annihilation, known as the Great Fireball technique. Sure enough, by controlling the output and shape of the Nen energy, other forms of fire attacks can be developed based on the Great Fire Annihilation. The attempt was successful, and Ethan put down his hand seal, with a clear smile in his eyes. After all, the hunter's version of the Great Fire Annihilation is no longer the same as the original version. Nen can be developed into derivatives, just like Kill's Nen that turns gas into electricity, which has led to a series of moves such as Thunder Bomb, Thunderbolt, and Godspeed. The same is true for Ethan's current development of the Great Fire Annihilation. Through the control of Nen energy, the move of the Great Fireball was derived. Of course, it is only a prototype now, and further refinement will definitely be needed later, such as the distribution of Nen energy, the stability of the form, etc. There is one more subject for training, but we can't spread our energy too thin. The development of the Great Fire Annihilation can only be regarded as providing us with one more combat method. The main core of training still revolves around the string fruit and enhancement. Ethan remained calm and was not swayed by the powerful fire ability. And we can't stop in terms of achievements. In the Sky Arena, the remaining achievement is to become the champion of the fighting tournament. This half a year can't be wasted. The fighting tournament in the Sky Arena is held every 2 years, and since it's still early for the next one, Ethan naturally has no intention of simply waiting. Night. In a bedroom of a house. Bang. Suddenly, the glass window with closed curtains was smashed by an external force. As the glass fragments scattered on the floor, a ghostly figure quickly jumped into the bedroom from the window. This ghostly figure wore tight-fitting black clothes and a mask. After rushing into the bedroom, without any pause, they immediately stabbed the person on the bed with a military spike in hand. Who W? The person sleeping in the bed was very alert. They woke up immediately as soon as the window was broken, then rolled out of bed to avoid the stabbing spike. Shit. The sharp military spike easily pierced the mattress. Die. The person who rolled out of bed looked at the attacker in shock and anger. When they saw that the attacker's face was covered with a mask and couldn't be clearly seen, they decisively jumped out and attacked. The wind of the fist roared, and most importantly, the fist was still condensed with Nen energy. The owner of the bedroom was apparently an user. Swish. Just as the bedroom owner attacked the intruder, 2 more identical figures in black tights and masks appeared through the broken window. Without any hesitation, the 2 new intruders immediately attacked the bedroom owner with their spikes. Poof. Blood spurted. The owner of the bedroom, distracted by the attacker on the bed, had no time to react. The 2 new attackers struck like lightning, stabbing through the body and slashing the throat. With a muffled groan, the owner of the bedroom fell directly onto the bed and was quickly beheaded by the attacker on the bed. With their heads in hand, the 3 identically dressed figures immediately jumped away from the window, landing in the garden outside the residence. After a few quick movements, they appeared on the rooftop of a building over 100 meters away. On the rooftop, Ethan, Lisa, and Mia were waiting. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 men in black quickly used their strength to leap to the rooftop, then placed their heads on the ground, dissipating into Nen. These 3 figures were obviously not real humans but transformations created by Nen. Shadow Soldier. This is the identity of the 3 men in black and one of the units derived from Mia's Nen, Guardian. Although Mia's talent in martial arts is average, her development of Nen is outstanding. Not only is it the most special trait system among the 6 major types, but the Nen of Guardian is also extremely comprehensive and powerful, as developed by her. Guardian is an ability that can create various types of troops according to needs. There are scout soldiers for investigation, and warrior soldiers and shadow soldiers for combat. If the warrior soldier is a tank-type combat unit with high defense and strength, then the shadow soldier is an assassin-type unit that prioritizes agility and lethality. This should be the last one. Ethan stepped forward, picked up the head on the ground, stored it in the storage space, and then stood up, looking at Lisa. Based on what we gathered from the intelligence, this is indeed the last sea-level criminal here. Lisa nodded. Mia looked at Ethan and asked, "Are we leaving next?" "Yes, let's check the Hunter website to see if we can find the whereabouts of any large C-level or B-level criminal gangs. If so, we'll deal with them first," Ethan said with a smile. "Then let's go. We've been busy for several days. We need to have a good rest tonight before we leave." Lisa stretched and said with a sweet smile. In the past few days, although Ethan and the others did not leave the city where the Sky Arena is located, they transformed into superheroes and hunted C-class criminals in the city every night.